better get them, Lord.
Holy Spirit,
Before I get them, Lord.
activate.
Hey.
Activate. Let's go. Holy Spirit, activate.
Oh no.
Holy Spirit, activate.
Okay.
Holy Spirit, activate.
Okay.
Activate.
Hey, hey,
Let's go.
they say I ain't saved cause I cuss a little bit. But you're the only judge that I need and that's it. They always in my business cause they say I backslid. They read the Holy Bible but they ain't applying it. So Holy Spirit activate. If you do it right now, that would be great. I ain't trying to smack this chick in the face. Don't you see me down here trying to change my way. So
Holy Spirit,
you better do it, Lord.
Holy Spirit,
You better get them, Lord.
Holy Spirit,
Before I get them, Lord.
activate.
Hey, hey, hey.
You cannot.
Hold
Okay.
Holy Spirit,
They
activate.
better do it, Lord.
Holy Spirit,
You
activate.
better get them, Lord.
Holy Spirit, activate.
Before I get them, Lord.
Activate.
Hey.
Activate. Let's go. Holy Spirit, activate.
Oh no.
Holy Spirit, activate.
Okay.
Holy Spirit, activate.
Okay.
Activate.
Hey, hey.
Let's go.
They say I ain't saved cause I cuss a little bit. But you're the only judge that I need and that's it. They always in my business cause they say I backslid. They read the Holy Bible but they ain't applying it. So Holy Spirit activate. If you do it right now, that would be great. I ain't trying to smack this chick in the face. Don't you see me down here trying to change my way. So
Holy Spirit,
you better do it, Lord.
Holy Spirit,
You better get them, Lord.
Holy Spirit,
Before I get them, Lord.
activate.
Hey, hey, hey.
You cannot.
Hold
Okay.
Holy Spirit,
They
activate.
better do it, Lord.
Holy Spirit,
You
activate.
better get them, Lord.
Holy Spirit, activate.
Before I get them, Lord.
Activate.
Hey.
Activate. Let's go. Holy Spirit, activate.
Oh no.
Holy Spirit, activate.
Okay.
Holy Spirit, activate.
Okay.
Activate.
Hey, hey.
Let's go.
They say I ain't saved cause I cuss a little bit. But you're the only judge that I need and that's it. They always in my business cause they say I backslid. They read the Holy Bible but they ain't applying it. So Holy Spirit activate. If you do it right now, that would be great. I ain't trying to smack this chick in the face. Don't you see me down here trying to change my way. So
Holy Spirit,
you better do it, Lord.
Holy Spirit,
You better get them, Lord.
Holy Spirit,
Before I get them, Lord.
activate.
Hey, hey, hey.
You cannot.
Hold
Okay.
Holy Spirit,
They
activate.
better do it, Lord.
Holy Spirit,
You
activate.
better get them, Lord.
Holy Spirit, activate.
Before I get them, Lord.
Activate.
Hey.
Activate. Let's go. Holy Spirit, activate.
Oh no.
Holy Spirit, activate.
Okay.
Holy Spirit, activate.
Okay.
Activate.
Hey, hey.
Let's go.
They say I ain't saved cause I cuss a little bit. But you're the only judge that I need and that's it. They always in my business cause they say I backslid. They read the Holy Bible but they ain't applying it. So Holy Spirit activate. If you do it right now, that would be great. I ain't trying to smack this chick in the face. Don't you see me down here trying to change my way. So
Holy Spirit,
you better do it, Lord.
Holy Spirit,
You better get them, Lord.
Holy Spirit,
Before I get them, Lord.
activate.
Hey, hey, hey.
You cannot.
Hold
Okay.
Holy Spirit.
Hi. Can you all hear me? Can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. I love you guys. Let me know if you can hear me. If you can, please hit the like. Please hit the like. Please hit the like. Absolutely. If you can hear me, you should be liking. If you can hear me, you should be liking the video. Okay, you all are saying yes. Oh my God, I love you guys. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I love you all. Okay. The title of the show is Jaguar Wright's son, Sam Jr. interviews about new book, Monster Mom interview, and why Sam cut off Jaguar. Okay. So we do have Sam Jr., okay, Samuel II, in the building, okay, to speak for himself. Now, this is in no way, shape, or form a bashing when it comes to Jaguar. We've been there, done that type of situation. It's just as of recently, Jaguar has been going often a lot, speaking on Sam Jr., saying things that he said and things that he may not have said. It's just a bunch of confusion. Jaguar also goes around, still to this day, stating that the conversations that I had with Sam that are on Coffee and are on YouTube as of now are AI. That it's not Sam, that it's a bunch of, recordings and stuff like that placed together. And, Sam would never speak like that. That's not who he is, And she said that Sam would pretty much have to go live, or say these things to her face. So we're going to give her just what she wants, because SeanDavieWay is going to be a lot of things. I hear I'm a monkey, I'm an agate, I'm a this, I'm a that, but I'm not a liar. Okay, I have nothing to lie about. For what? What do I get out of lying on Jaguar Wright? I don't understand. What's the gain from that? Shout out to Danny Robertson. I do want you to know, Danny, that Sam watches your channel. He absolutely does. And he keeps up with a lot of the things that you say, Danny. So shout out to you, Danny Robertson, and all of your Avengers. We love you down. Sam is a fan. Sam, he watches you. He definitely does. I forgot to say that in my coffee live because of all the other stuff that we talked about. But he has a fondness for you, Danny Robertson, just like me, girl. Y'all get over there and subscribe to Danny Robertson if you have not subscribed to her. I'm sure most of you already have. But for the ones that haven't and you want some, new flavor in your ear, please go over and check out Danny Robertson. Shout out to her and all of her Avengers. We love you all. So I did want to put that out there because Sam has spoke of you. So shout out to Danny. Love her. Look at all these sources in the chat. I know that's right. Y'all better. So we bring Sam here again to speak for himself. I didn't bring him here to attack Jaguar. In our conversations that we had that aren't AI, that are literally Sam, we've had certain discussions and none of them are fake. Sam's Cash App, which is Lord Sorrow, which I'm definitely going to be blessing today. I'm definitely going to be hitting up Sam's Cash App. It's his Cash App. It's not compromised or anything like that. Again, Sam is not requesting any money. He is not asking for any money. In the past, when I've done conversations with Sam, I put up, when I will put them up, a lot of people in the comments would ask, how can they help? Like, what's Sam's Cash App? What's this? What is that? Before his Cash App was compromised. So we were waiting for him to get a new one and updated because his mother, among other things that was going on with Sam's Cash App, we just didn't want people sending anything to it because Sam wasn't comfortable at the time. But now he got it all fixed up and updated. So now for the people that have wanted to seek Sam out to buy paintings and just to send a little love his way and whatnot, that is what the Cash App is there for. Sam is not here requesting any funds. That is not why he's here at all. Sam has been doing a great job taking care of himself. And he's also have gotten the strength from people like you. You also inspired him to write this book that Sam is going to be doing in the future. So Sam's Cash App is pinned. It is Lord Sorrow, S-O-R-O. It is pinned in the chat. Also, his coffee. Shout out to Sam. Sam, let me pull this up. Sam is over on Coffee, y'all. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, we love him. So Sam's over on Coffee, and I'm going to put that up on the screen so you guys know what coffee. Lord. What coffee to go to. Let me pull that up. It's right here. Put that up on the screen for you guys. Okay, just in case my sound goes out because it kind of echoes when I move the screen. This is Sam's coffee, okay? Sorrow Nexel, but you can find him under his coffee name under Smith Sorrow. So Smith Sorrow, okay? SMITHSORO. Okay, Smith Sorrow is where you can find him. Sam is in the process because of the conversations that we dropped. He watched the premieres over here, and all of your guys' comments, ladies and gentlemen, y'all all inspired him to write. He saw a lot of people writing in the chat. Is he a writer? He talks like a writer and whatnot, and he took heed to what you all were saying in the chat. So now Sam is going to go on his journey to write his own book in his own words to let you all know how he feels, okay? So I gave Sam the idea when we were talking that, hey, I know writing a book can be a lot. It can be a lot of pressure, writer's block, all type of other stuff, and the time to be able to do so, because Sam is in the process of working. Well, he's working already, and he's in the process of getting back into school. So I don't want to him to feel overwhelmed, because it can feel overwhelming. So why not take the people on a day-to-day, experience with you? Because on Coffee you can write posts and all other type of stuff, upload videos and things in that nature. So why not take it a day at a time and start your book, your intro and your first couple chapters, and just put it on Coffee, page by page and whatnot, and express yourself and your own words that no one can say that someone else did for you. This is something that Sam can do in his own time. People are very interested in Sam's story. So what a great way for him to make not only a path for himself, but be compensated for it, because I feel that he deserves it. So Sam will be over on Coffee and writing entries. Is kind of like a life blog, if you will, and turning it and manifesting it into a book. So it's not strenuous on him. The people that want to hear Sam's story can get, pages day by day or week by week. Sam can drop, 10 pages or 20 pages, and whatnot. So he could actually take his time and do this, because he is so wise with his words. Like, he's wise beyond his years, and he definitely, him on paper, would be incredible. So I'm excited to read this myself and to hear what Sam's going to say, because it's not just about the stuff that's going on with his mother. It's also Sam's story. Okay. We've heard a lot about his story with his mother, but we haven't heard about Sam. Like, what have you experienced? What were you going through when all of this stuff was going on? Let us hear about you. It doesn't, you can incorporate whoever you want because it's your life story, but don't forget about you. Let the people into your world to figure out who Sam is. So I'm very, very, very excited for Sam. Again, this is his Coffee. Make sure you guys get over there, get over there, get over there. It's already up and running. He has everything going already. We're in his art as well. He's going to be displaying art over there too and putting up posts of his art. So if people are interested in purchasing pieces of his art, that will be amazing as well. So we're definitely going to get the ball rolling with Sam and making him his own kind of content creator in his own way. Instead of being out here in all of the mess and on YouTube and all that, like, no, that I don't feel like that's Sam's lane. I think that he's more so of an intricate person, an introvert. So yeah, I think this is much more his speed to be able to write down his feelings and express them. So yeah, so shout out to Sam. I'm super excited to have him here. So without any further ado, again, his Cash App is pinned in the chat. If you want to send him anything, it is not a demand. No one is asking for anything. It's just if you're feeling on your heart and you want to send Sam a little gift, or just tell him that you're proud of him, or you're interested in helping him in some way, or just want to just say, hey, just send a little dollar to be like, hey Sam, love you Sam. Glad you're doing well, Sam. That's great. But again, it's not a must. It's just if you want to, if you feel it on your heart. I am going to bring Sam Jr. up because why wouldn't I? Okay, this is all about Sam. Jaguar, I know you're here. Okay, you have been calling me all day, all morning. Okay, I'm gonna say this. I talked to Sam about you coming up. I do not want you on my platform. I do not. But I am not holding Sam away from you. Sam is an adult, 22 years old, and he thinks for himself. So if you would like to speak to your son, you absolutely can. Don't feel like you can't speak to him, because you can. While I'm talking to Sam, after I'm done talking to him, because this is about him, if you would like to come up and speak to your son, that's fine. As proof to you and the rest of YouTube sphere that I'm not keeping your son away from you. No, not at all. Okay? But if you disrespect Sam at all, if you swear at Sam at all, you're gone. Instantly. You will respect him because this is my house. You want to talk to him like whatever, how you normally talk, take him to your crib. But in my house, you will respect him. because he's been doing nothing but respecting you. Okay? Sam hasn't disrespected you. He hasn't done any of those things. He's just told his experience. And since it's not similar to your lie, you want to make him a liar, and he is not. So again, after I talk to Sam, if you would like to speak to your son, why not? I don't mind that at all. I've never tried to rip Sam away from you. I've never tried to do that. Like, well, gross. I have children. I would never want anyone to intervene. So it's the same thing with you. I'm not going to intervene. Intervene on what? No, this is Sam's feeling. Welcome, Sam the second, to the stage. Hello, Sam. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing nicely. I was glad to hear from you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me, Sam.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to say hello to everyone else who's watching too.
Absolutely. So Sam has been wanting to talk to you guys. He's been wanting to say, go ahead, Sam. I know you've been wanting to say like thank you and hello, and you go right ahead.
Okay. There's a lot of things to say. I guess to keep it a buck. Roughly half a year ago, there's something I said in regards to the matter that I moved on with it. But if people are looking for any more stuff, maybe something to keep their eyes a bit straight, keep their eyes on the goal, I'm willing to help along. I'm keeping up on that. I have been keeping my eye and, according to my own online visage, eyes on the situation. And know that I deeply thank you all for the gratitude that you have shown, the humbleness and the kindred words that you sent expressed towards me. Glad that I'm finally doing well where I am now. I deeply and sincerely thank you all. You truly brought this young person, this young entity, strength and joy where he had not found any before. So, I've seen some of the messages. Some of you wondering if I was a writer and if I'm going to be writing anything. Just know, to those of you who have commented, and I have seen some of you, I do not remember the usernames, but just know that you have been seen. You are not the only ones. There have been several people in my life whom I know who said, upon hearing these, that I should perhaps write a book on this someday. And one of those people, interestingly enough, is our dearly departed Saint Grandma Frances.
Oh, Sam, don't.
Forgive me for jerking the tears on this.
No, you go right ahead. You go right ahead. This is just so sweet. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Now, upon the first release of my conversations with Sean here, I said that I would consider it. However, as it would be, I already had a blueprint of sorts that I had made, I would say, a year back, roughly, maybe even a little bit more, a year and a couple of months. I made a text document on my computer, documenting things that I'd sparsely recalled over the course of time. A sort of documentation and recollection of the history that I had been through and what I could feasibly remember, focusing on the lens of negativity, as was mostly provoked my gaze, my singular gaze, if you will. I never would have imagined that I could easily equate my own psyche and my own vision with my own persona, if you will, that of a cosmic blacksmith. What originally held one eye is synonymous with that of a great sight, but with only one, and thus is prone to tunnel vision. But in just the span of, I would say, 2 years, and to be more precise, roughly a year and a half, I've gained more. And with more eyes, I have more knowledge and more wisdom. I'm able to see much more than I had before, and perceive things that were done from an adult's perspective that I, as a young, singular-eyed cyclops of a kid, could not perceive or understand.
So you're saying that you, since time has passed, you looking on things with a different perspective than how you did when you were actually in it, like when you were going through it?
Yes.
Okay.
Henceforth, I've gone upon documenting and redocumenting this skeleton of a framework, this schematic, if you will, into what is right now a beta of a book line, an autobiography documenting my own personal stipulations, my own personal thoughts, feelings, emotions, choices, pretty much a chronicling of my own journey. How I once considered myself a ghost amidst the space of the public conscious. How I felt I was no more than a tool. And what is once was a tool has now become, or should I say, returned into being its own being.
So around your mother, you didn't feel like you were human. You felt more of an object at the time than being just like her son.
Certainly. And it's not, and this wouldn't be the first time I admit it. Even back then, I profused my fears amidst other people that I felt that I was nothing more than a pawn in someone's game. That I was nothing more than the key trump card to twist and force people to commit actions they wouldn't otherwise. In other words, I would be the affliction that they would introduce in an otherwise ironclad defense that would not be shaken, introducing a weakness in order to make a weak point, something one person can strike upon consecutively and take their foe down. In a spiritual sense, this is no different than that of the great adversary. And for those of you who are of the Christian faith, you know whom I speak of when I say the great adversary.
For the people that
Unfortunately,
don't know, who's the great adversary? For the ones that don't know.
from the great adversary, for those who are not of the faith or those who aren't of the know, will be that of the devil. His the precise identity of which throughout the religion is quite sparse. The most common, that being Satan, of course, being the one whom was at least more precisely recognized as being the one being sent, who was sent by God to judge Job in the book of Job in the Bible, testing a man of his faith by stripping him one after the other of all of his well-earned wealth and livelihood,
Are
from
you
his land to
comparing
his
your
family.
mother? Are you comparing your mother to the devil?
I am not saying that she is the devil.
Mhm.
What I am saying is that, at least for the longest time, it had seemed to me that someone had become infested, or at least contacted by him.
Mhm.
And while I had never known who that was for the longest time, it became apparent in the recent years that perhaps my own mother was the one whom reached within our family. The Wrights and the Odoms are a Christian family. That much is for sure. And even though the religion differed between Seventh-day Adventists and Baptists, ultimately, to me, at least in my eyes, the difference between Seventh-day Adventists and Baptists boil down to nothing more than which day we pray to the Lord and worship Him on the Sabbath, whether that be the Saturday or Sunday. Either way, the core idea is that we at least give one day to the Lord to rest, to worship Him. However, amongst all of us, nowadays it's become very evident of one whom has abandoned the Lord's teachings and has done so for quite a while.
And do you feel that your mother has abandoned, because she is religious as well, do you feel that she's abandoned the faith?
At best, she has abandoned the true teachings of the Lord, and at worst, she's begun twisting them to her own benefit.
I felt that.
Allow me.
Let's stick a pin in that really quick, okay?
Okay.
This is getting really good. Wow, because that's powerful. That's powerful, and it connects to so many other things that I want to talk to you about. So we're definitely going to get further. I'm literally going to pick up right from there in just a second here. But I do want people to hear the good things that are going on in your life. So let's update them in how that's going. So you are currently working, correct?
Yes, I'm currently working. I've been in a job that I've actually enjoyed, and for the first time in quite a while, I've actually considered, and I've been in the process of re-enrolling back into a college and furthering my education.
Absolutely. And you plan on enrolling? You're trying to get in started by this fall? You were saying? Yeah. And working on top of that. I'm so proud of you. Like when you say these things, it makes me so happy, because I know these have been goals for you, but it's different when you take a goal and turn it into actuality. So you manifest the things that you say, and you are definitely doing that. So I'm really proud of you. I know the last time you went to college years ago, you had issues with, like anxiety and other things going in. With this newfound confidence that you have, do you think it'll be a bit easier for you to attend school this time around?
To me, I believe it will be significantly easier than when I was merely a 20-year-old, with many stark and key differences between then and now that really identify and prove my strength. First things first, I know that I have my own family with me. Back then, even though I had connections with my family and contacts every now and again with my friends, back then I never truly felt them or felt the presence of them. And at times, it would get severe enough to the point where it felt like even my connection with the Lord was rather tenuous.
Yeah.
Time has only reforged that into something ever stronger, unbreakable even. If I ever feel down, I know that I always have them. As long as I don't abandon them, they won't abandon me.
Us too. We are so here for you. Here for you and your journey with school and just whatever. Like, we are here. We're your biggest cheerleaders besides your family. We are here for you. And all we want to see you do is excel. That's all we want. We just want you to have a good life because you deserve it. A lot of people don't feel deserving of a good life. And I think that that's kind of how you felt when you felt invisible. You didn't feel deserving of having things and having things be, instead of temporary, then be permanent, because you were kind of at the beck and call of your mom. You were, it was her plan. It was what she wanted to do. But now, being the driver of the car, no longer riding passenger, driving it on your own, it's a different lifestyle. And has your life with your family became better after you kind of parted ways from your mom, or is it about the same?
It has most certainly become better. One thing to note is that even if the time becomes a bit more separate every now and then due to my still very youthful management of time every now and then, I still always make time to connect with them at least one day of the week. Whether my father, well, I'm always by him. But even with other members of my family, like my aunts, whether distant or near,
Mhm.
my grandmother now,
Yeah.
I do. I still connect with them, and I'm glad to call them.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad that I don't feel bad calling them, or feel like I'm doing this because I have to, that I'm forcing myself to call them. It feels natural.
Yeah. When you were around your mom, did you feel like you were betraying her by speaking to certain family members like your Aunt Lachelle, whom, from what I gather, has been amazing in your time of need?
Mm.
Shout out to Lachelle. She every time I talk to you, you say just the most wonderful things about Lachelle and how she's been there for you. So shout out to Lachelle. But yeah, did you feel like a traitor when you would talk to them prior?
I wouldn't say I felt like a traitor, but it felt like talking to them felt like it was more of an obligation than just a personal connection. Like,
Mhm.
to describe more accurately, while it didn't feel like I was actively betraying anyone by just speaking to them, it wasn't
Yeah.
that severe. But at the same time, it felt like speaking to them would always bear this feeling of tenseness that I might be asked on what exactly I spoke to them about, and perhaps I need to obfuscate some details in order to keep things simple.
Mhm. Wow. So it was more so of you feeling uncomfortable, not like
Yes.
a sense of betrayal. You just didn't feel comfortable speaking. It felt like a chore, like a rehearsed type of conversation,
In the
rather than
simplest
just being
form,
genuine.
yes. To say that it felt back then that calling other members of my family was a chore is the most accurate way to describe it in the simplest ways.
Yeah. Wow. Absolutely. So removing yourself and being on your own, now your relationships have grown with your family, and I'm very happy about that, because that's what we've always wanted. So Sam is doing good, guys. He's working. He's planning on getting into school again this fall. So shout out to Sam. We're so proud of you again. Hats off to you for putting the work in. We are proud of you. What about your life when it comes to this book, besides the obvious things that we feel like you're going to talk about? When it comes to you as a person, what what would you say you're going to open people up to about you that they didn't know?
To me, I feel like I will open to people how very intricate and how in depth my thoughts can go to at times. My imagination is one that is very unnatural compared to others. I know my intelligence and my way of speaking may profuse some of that, but how I consider things is very in depth and very elaborate. And in my writing, I believe people will find that some of the things that they see within it, my own words in written form, will be one of what would seem to be an elaborate structure on the surface, broken down into ways that people can understand, seeing things in a more fine-tuned and deeper level.
Mhm.
This of course includes many aspects of times of to better describe times where you have you have the very simple terms of there are many kids out there who have divorced parents, especially nowadays, and life itself can feel very divided in between two aspects. However, but with me, I'm I feel as if I have the state of mind to be able to articulate the very complex feelings as if they were a painting.
Yeah. So you're going to be really vivid in how you speak.
Certainly.
Oh, I'm excited. So I do have a question about this. And it's about the book. Are
Mhm.
you going to talk about the viral eviction? I want you to take a second to think about the viral eviction. When you, God rest your grandmother's soul, and your
Mhm.
mother were all outside, and your mom was live, Jaguar Wright was live on YouTube for the whole world to see this going on. So I do want to know, are you going to talk about that? You could take a couple seconds. Are you going to talk about the viral eviction, and can you take us back to where you were mentally that day when all of that stuff was going on? I'm going to side note real quick and shout out the super stickers and stuff in the chat really quick while you think about that, Sam. Shout out to Tasha Sherry for the super sticker. Thank you so much, sweetheart. I really appreciate it. Mwah, thank you so much. Shout out to Bree for becoming a new member. Shout out to you. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Shout out to Look at My Transcripts. Thank you for your continued support and being a member for 16 months. She said at SeanDavieWay Show, at lunch, hashtag teacher work day. Shout out to you. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Shout out to Indigo Beats. She says, great show, Sean. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for being a continuous supporter and also for gifting 5 memberships. Thank you so much, Indigo. Thank you. Shout out to my baby, Danny Robertson. Shout out to Danny for gifting 10 memberships. Oh my God, now I got to get over that. Danny, girl, now I got to come over there. Girl, I got to come over there and buy stuff, girl. Shout out to my baby, Danny Robertson. Shout out to you. Y'all get over there and subscribe to her. Shout out to Skilu for gifting 5 memberships as well. Thank y'all so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Black Sheep, for gifting 5 memberships. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And shout out to Chi-Town for the super sticker. Thank y'all so much. I would like to acknowledge them because I'll be feeling bad. I don't want y'all to think that I don't care. I do. I just be trying to keep the show going. So to segue back into that, Sam, again, will you be talking about the viral eviction in your book? And where was your mind that day?
With my book, with my chronicle, that will be among one of the many things that will be covered within it. That eviction.
Okay.
It is a vivid memory, after all, one that everyone, not just I, have conscious headspace of. And I'll be able to go into detail with that, as well as in comparison to other previous evictions I had to suffer. But to go into more depth with that moment, my headspace at the time, I can trace it back onto that night before the eviction happened, when I saw the notice. As a matter of fact, I still remember when I took a picture of it and messaged my mother.
And that was the pink notice?
Yeah, pink. It was indeed the pink notice, the final notice, the move everything out.
Or else.
Or else. Yeah, or else everything is getting forced out.
Yeah.
Pink notice that was in yellow paper, no less.
Yeah.
Now, that was indeed a very stressing moment. I could still feel the distress of having seen that notice first time.
Mm-hmm.
It was very troubling. As if you could feel a red alert going on in the back of your head that something is triggering. In times of turmoil like this, one can often say that time is a flat circle, and that some events have a very eerie way of appearing every now and again. Same situation, the same incident occurring again and again. History sometimes repeats itself, and sometimes it doesn't even need a reason. But ultimately, the reason is because the people who allowed it to happen haven't learned from their mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that viral eviction was in fact the 4th one that I've been through.
Right.
Technically,
so being through 3 evictions prior to that one, when you were triggered, was it a triggering feeling of, oh my God, we got to go? Or was it a triggering feeling like, not again? Or again? You know, like which one was it?
It felt like deja vu. That I knew that I'd been through this before. And I contacted her, the message immediately, posting the picture about it, asking her, what are we going to do about this? She said it was fine. You don't need to stress about it. And you saw the result of that. Now, unfortunately, I'm unable to show that message to you because with the time frame that happened with my previous phone, the one that I had whilst I was with her, unfortunately broke, so I cannot get it up until I say
Oh,
get
you
repairs
are the
to it.
receipt. We don't need a receipt. You said stating where the receipt is and that you could give it if you. That's enough for us. So we trust me. I believe every word that is coming out of your mouth.
I'm glad to hear that. So yes, the moment was indeed very distressing. Now, I did hear some remarks now and again, and I do remember this, that some people thought that it was being staged, and honestly, for as much as some people will say that hurts in regards to the situation, that in regards to the state that I was in by the time some people were peering in by, say, what, around 5:30 to 6 o'clock, I don't blame them because because with how very tumultuous and troubling my mother had been at that point, what, having spread my brother's ashes out in public, having caused another scenario here and there, calling the police on the one and only Goomba himself.
Yeah.
With all of that, I wouldn't blame people for believing that how I was reacting at the time, or at least how I was staged. But it was true. I was getting very tired for searching around for what felt like an hour, maybe even 2 hours for those credentials on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it was in the midst of winter still in Cedar Hill over in Dallas, it can still get pretty warm down there when the sun is out. So when the sun is directly out on you, and you say haven't been able to drink anything really fresh for that matter, out of the sake of preservation for it for hours, and any potential food that could be eaten, that could have been eaten, having to be saved in a cold space lest the others go to spoil, outside of maybe a slight peckish hunger, dehydration led to me being very out of stamina, if you will, searching around, searching frantically to get these things out, because because even myself at that point knew that if we didn't find this, we're going to be stuck out here in the middle of the night, sleeping on the grass or on the pavement.
Mm-hmm.
And with people out there being, well, varied depending on their behavior towards my mother, especially considering the fact that not that long ago, since that happened, before rain broke out, there was in fact I believe a shooting that had happened, or something of kids getting very rowdy, and no, not a shooting, but someone beating up a father or an elderly person. I could have only imagined what horrors they would want to inflict, knowing that we are out in the open and basically up for the pickings, basically free throws to get pop shots on.
So you were worried about your mom's safety at that time, being evicted and being live, and knowing there's certain people on YouTube that really didn't like her?
Yes, I was worried. I was worried for her safety, and I was willing to push myself to the point of dehydration and exhaustion if it meant giving us a moving truck in order to leave.
And that's when you were looking for the pocketbook that she couldn't
Yes.
find? Okay, so you say you were really like out of it, but you were going to do everything in your power to find it so that you weren't on the pavement with your grandmother, basically.
Indeed. It isn't the first time that something of a psyche like that has happened. Most of the times, whenever we were met with a very empty refrigerator at times, I would often get to the point where I would put food aside and only go for maybe mere scraps of snacks if it meant that we could save that for a later date and say conserve the food up to a point where we can buy groceries again. It's something
So
that's happened
your
in.
mom would leave at times, and when she would leave you and your grandmother, the food would be very scarce until she returned. So you would save food for later dates, so that when your mom pretty much just went wherever she was going, or leaving, that you could be able to feed you and your grandmother still.
Yes, that is correct. Now, granted, due to grandmom's psyche due to grandmom's cognitive integrity at the time, that was a bit harder to do, mainly because she basically did what I did at a more severe rate, and she'd almost never touched the food that she had once before,
Mhm.
which of course made things worse of finding the fresh things when some of the things in there went spoiled, and then you end up having to take a lot of the stuff out in order to clean the fridge and then put them back in.
Yeah. And then there was times too, where there was power outages and whatnot there, and when Houston, when Texas had the big ice storm, and you guys didn't have
Oh
power.
yeah, the ice storm. I wasn't around for the ice storm, thank goodness.
Yeah, your grandmother was.
Yeah, unfortunately, poor Grandma Frances had to go through that, but I didn't. I was at least spared for it.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I was with my father on that. I was with my father in the Christmas of 2020, of 2022. So
Yeah. So she
I
was
was
there
spared from
alone
it.
in the dark, pretty much.
Yeah, that's how the experience would be if I
Mhm.
were able to see it.
Speaking of her, in times Grandma Frances had to, God rest her soul, had to struggle. Do you recall a time too where your grandmother was pushing a shopping cart home of groceries because she didn't have a vehicle?
Oh yes,
What
yes
happened
I
to your
do.
grandmother's vehicle, and why did your grandmother have to push your shopping cart home full of groceries?
Okay, now I'm going to equate a similar thing that happened around when we were in Cedar Hill to this particular event, so that you all could get in a bit of a headspace as to how severe things were. So there was an instance. This was when when Miss Legina Gold was around us in Cedar Hill at the time. The more recent incident.
And you like Legina, correct? You don't have a problem with Legina?
I don't have a particular problem with her at all. I
Okay.
I see her as just a fellow person. She has her own problems, much like the rest of us. I can sympathize. I may not empathize because I do not know the particular circumstances, but I sympathize with her problems nonetheless because
Yes.
pain is something that we all have to deal with, and it can really stick with us for a very long time, depending on what it is.
Yeah.
Back to that. Both me and my grandmother went to a supermarket in order to get groceries, and we had a good amount of money here or there to do so. Now, my grandmother insisted on going onto the trip, even though I, being the more cautious mind of reason, did not want her to go because I had a good feeling that she was going to spend so much money that it's going to go way over the limit than we can afford. However, she insisted upon it. So I went into the supermarket just to at least confirm that we're not spending all too much. But what I feared did in fact happen. Ended up spending roughly, at least on the initial grab, the total amount got up to, I believe, what? I think it was $300 worth of groceries at the time.
Mhm.
Even though the most I was willing to say spend was roughly around maybe a little over 100 or so. Unfortunately, I can't remember the exact amount that it went, but I do know that it's in roughly around that area. Part of me feels like it went up to 500, but I feel like that is obviously going to cost a lot for exaggeration. So
Mhm.
300 seems like the safe amount to me. So that was in that instance where I ended up having to call people. I had to making calls out to my aunt Shell, making calls out to calls out to Genesis to try and help out, as well as cutting off all the things that we didn't need. Just goes to show you that back then, even when I was at the age of 20, that I had at least enough wisdom in me to only get the things we need and to save the things we want for later when we have more money.
Mhm.
So, why did I bring up that moment? Well, it's because there was an incident that happened prior where Grandma did the similar thing when her psyche wasn't all in order. But the
Okay,
situation was a lot
but
more.
this is a situation that has not been discussed in the public before about a situation with your grandmother and Jaguar. But go ahead.
Yes, it hasn't.
Okay.
Now, I like to note that I'd like to thank, my family members who've been able to clarify these details with me because because this perspective comes from them. It does not come directly from me because I wasn't there to fully witness what or understand what had happened at the time. This was around when I was still in my single digit age, roughly around the age of 6 years old. And this incident was born from the then death of my mother's father, Norman Wright. Norman Wright was a great man, formerly served in the U.S. Marines, and was very well respected amidst our family. Got us a home in Berlin, New Jersey, and that was the one that I grew up in after I was born when I was very young. Well, when I'd stay around, those were the times when I'd spend a lot of time with much of my family, between both my mother and my father, with my aunts and my uncles. And it was when our small little tradition of racing competition was born too. Grandpa Norman died in I believe it was 2009. While I was still 6. His death really hit the family a lot. But that impact was most certainly felt by both my mother and my grandmother. Grandma Frances, her mentality sunk to a state that you would found in her later ages that you'd see more recently while she was still alive with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
But what was going on with my mom at the time? Well, as accounted to me, after her father's death, my mom would leave the house and she wouldn't return for a couple of days. When I say a couple of days, I say between 2 to 3 days. And no one knew where she went. No one knew where she went. She took the van that the family used to drive around in. And she didn't answer her phone either. So no one knew where she went. And it got very bad that on one evening when we were low on groceries once again, and it was just me and my brother Giovanni and Grandma Frances that were around. Grandma went to the groceries. Grandma got a cab and went driving on and went out to the supermarket to get groceries.
Mm-hmm.
And she would end up getting so many groceries that she didn't have any money for a fare to take the cab back. And her saintly heart decided to take the grocery cart that had all the groceries in it and walk down, I believe it was Route 73, back home in order to get me and Giovanni some food. She was stopped midway by some officers at the time to see what was going on, and they were able to get her the rest of the way home.
So your mother, which I can understand, your grandfather, which was her father, Norman, passing away. I get everybody took it hard. But she pretty much would just take the family vehicle that your grandmother would have used to transport groceries back and forth and just disappeared and left you and your now deceased brother Giovanni, which God rest his soul as well, and would just leave you guys, pretty much abandon you, with your grandmother, and she had no way to feed you guys. So she ended up taking a taxi to the grocery store, getting groceries, and was walking alongside of the highway with groceries to get the food back home to feed you and Giovanni. And police officers saw her in the process of pushing this cart alongside the highway and brought her home to you and Giovanni with the groceries.
Yes, that is correct.
Wow. That is a lot.
It is a lot to unpack. That much is for sure.
That is a lot to unpack. God rest that sweet woman's soul. Shout out to Goomba Head. Goomba Head said, great show. SeanDavieWay, I will catch up later after work. He says, love you, Sam. Shout out to Goomba. I know that you love Goomba. You have no issue with Goomba. You always speak highly.
Certainly.
Shout out to Goomba.
I'm glad to see and hear that he's doing well these days.
Yeah, me too. Shout out to Goomba. So yeah, because I want people to know that. And then also someone saying in the chat, is Sam Jr. still in contact with his father? Absolutely. He sees his father every single day. And he is speaking with his grandmother on his father's side. They're doing just fine. Everything. Correct, Sam? I don't want to speak for you.
Yes,
here.
that is correct.
Okay. So to move on from that, because that's heavy. You spoke to your mom during the time of your grandmother's homegoing, her funeral.
Mm-hmm.
What was said? Because she said online that you said that there was no ashes inside of the urn. We'll get to that. She said that you said that it was just dirt inside of the urn. But before we get there, what did your mom say to you when you spoke to her on the homegoing of your grandmother?
Well, this was, I believe, a day after the homegoing, maybe. Forgive me for the date. I do not remember the exact date. So cannot give the exact date, but this was after the homegoing ceremony. Now, I believe all of you know of the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
Denial is often met with a lot of refusal of what has happened. And at times it could be so bad that we want to reject that it ever happened. Now, one thing that I often considered I had been through for a good long while was that I was also going through my own road of depression, cycling through one of its stages.
Mm-hmm.
Depression was the stage that I was cycling through, though I thought I was suffering through bargaining and denial, cycling through them over and over again. Unfortunately, my mother has seemed to, at the time, and as far as I'm aware, up to this point now, cycling through the first stage and the second. She fervently believed, and she fervently believes, that her mother isn't dead. It is a denial that is as sorrowfully tragic as it is mind-numbingly baffling.
Absolutely. Sam is 22. I just keep going, Sam.
Oh, I see the time. Don't worry.
No, I say you're 22. They asked how old you were.
I'm 22. It is indeed a very tragic way to thought. And while some may find this a bit of a very tragic thing to probably go further into discuss, I will nonetheless. To describe to you, Mother, I did indeed see the small urn that contained my grandmother's ashes.
Mm-hmm.
with a picture of her on the front of it. But something to deconstruct my quote-unquote words. I never once opened the urn myself. So if you're saying that I saw inside and know whether or not I saw those ashes in there, I wouldn't have. So to state that I did see the ashes in the urn at all, or to see the dirt, is provably false. What's more, there is a bit of a detail that you seem to really assume that you know when really you don't, which is how she passed. You claim to think that she passed away, or say it was said that she passed away from some massive heart attack, when people can survive heart attacks.
Sure.
In fact, I have evidence of such, of one person whom I know had a heart attack and survived. And to say that that person surviving to this very day, to aid me in my growth until I'm able to stand on my own legs for as long as they have left, that is evidence of a blessing from God, one that I will never forget or dare desecrate. So if she had a heart attack like this person that I know deeply, why didn't she survive? Was it because of age? No. And that's because the cause of death wasn't a heart attack. It was cardiac arrest. When a person suffers this affliction, it means that their heart has stopped pumping blood, and blood vessels contain oxygen. Oxygen, which helps the cognitive functions of the brain be able to run. So if that were to stop, that means all oxygen has been cut off from the mind, and thus it begins to suffer, deteriorate, and wither. And with the death of one's cortex is the death of the person. I could still remember the vivid scene as it was described to me from my aunt, who has been with Grandmom Frances in her last days. And forgive me for saying this, my aunt. I know that this will bring you pain to hear this again, should you hear this. But to my eyes, if my mother ever has any hope of breaking through her illusion, she must see what true clarity is. And that's what I shall be.
Wow.
My grandmother had that cardiac arrest. And the ambulance tried desperately to try to get her into the hospital. But before they could get oxygen pumping into her body again, she had gone, I believe she said, 15 minutes without oxygen in her mind. By the time she reached the hospital, her fate was sealed already. You can imagine the horror that my aunt must have felt at the time, at least a portion of it. And maybe you might feel some horror from this too, Mom. I'm sorry I have to inflict this pain upon you. But sometimes people need pain in order to truly understand the truth of the matter.
Mm-hmm.
This is a venomous, uncaring world. And for as much as we like to live in our own perception of reality, reality itself is often very cruel. And to stay in our own bubbles is to sacrifice our own well-being. I know this better than anyone in our family.
100%.
And thus I break it all to you.
Do you think that your mom, I want to make sure I ask this properly. Due to your grandmother passing away from cardiac arrest, there are things that can lead to that happening if a person isn't necessarily taking care of themselves properly.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think her being under the care and guise of your mother may have resulted in the cardiac arrest?
Cardiac arrest is not something that develops.
No,
It
just
takes
happened.
time. It's not something that develops instantaneously. It is, of
Mhm.
course, something that takes a good amount of time in order to truly process. And unfortunately for my mother, a year's time is not enough time for it to develop. Meaning this affliction has been instilled in her for a good long while. Her heart was growing fat from the very lack of care she had when it came to her appetite and her diet.
Mm-hmm.
Though my mother had employed some means of being able to obfuscate this when it came to her diabetes, it did not help the major problem altogether, which was her growing heart. One of the first evidence and traces of this occurring were blood clots that had formed in, I believe it was, her legs. Grandma Frances shuffled around every now and then, shuffled around pretty much a lot when she'd move around a bit. And while this could be as a result of her old age, blood clots forming in her legs is pretty much evidence of that, stating that she couldn't move around her legs as well as any other person, especially at her age.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was also another thing that was found, a fluid blockage in her neck when roughly around when things worsened. And when that fluid blocks your neck, it begins to serve as a form of internal decapitation, thus limiting her own cognitive functions steadily.
Okay, hold on, Sam. I'm gonna pause you right there. Now, all of these things that you're displaying that was going on with Mama Frances, the question that I was asking, it's no one's like literal fault that Mama Frances passed away. It's just life happens, we have complications with the body and things in that nature. But your mother, she took Mama Frances and she had Mama Frances for years. While having Mama Frances, there was all type of things going on with her body that Mama Frances wasn't even aware of because the proper care wasn't being taken. So if Jaguar was going to take Mama Frances, which she did, then she should have made sure that she went to the hospital, that she went to her doctor's appointments, that she was properly taking her medications, that her diet and her food intake was better. That was her job, having Mama Frances, but she did none of those things. So my question was not if it was her fault, because no, it's not Jaguar's fault Frances passed away. But if Jaguar would have taken better care of her, a lot of those things could have been avoided and her life could have been prolonged longer, because the inevitable is the inevitable. Having an enlarged heart and things like that, your time is ticking. It just is what it is. But you can be comfortable and live a longer life if you are doing what you need to do to keep your body where it needs to be, to maintain your health. In my opinion, Mama Frances' health was not being maintained while she was with your mother, and she was with your mother for years. So that is what I'm saying. If Mama Frances was in somebody else's care, the blockage of her neck, the blood clots, and all of that stuff could have been being taken care of.
It could have been.
Proper care.
Keyword could have.
Correct.
But the one person who was supposed to uptake that responsibility did not properly do so in the right places needed.
That is my question. That's why I said I wanted to make sure I said it correctly, because it can come off as a person saying like, oh, do you think it's your mom's fault that you're going? No, and that's a cruel question. But we have to be honest and real that if she had better care, Mama Frances could have been here longer.
Yes. And I guess this might sound petty to add on, but turns out that in terms of the diabetes front, that wasn't being adequately helped either.
Mm-hmm. And how do you say? Go ahead.
My grandmother was on, I believe it's insulin on the form of insulin. However, the quality of insulin that she was taking was helping her, to use the old saying, it was allowing her to survive, but not to thrive. While it did help, it did not help her in reversing the effects that diabetes can cause a person.
Did your mother tell your grandmother that the sea moss at the time that she was making and creating would help certain issues that she had medically?
Yes, she did, as an alternative.
So the alternative to insulin was the sea moss?
Yes. I see you taking a very interesting step to try and help process things.
I'm trying to, Sam, because sea moss versus insulin. Did you ever say anything to your grandmother grandma, that sea moss isn't going to help?
To clarify,
mm-hmm.
I don't want to use the excuse that I was young and naive. I legitimately had no idea what sea moss did. I basically taken my mother's word for it because I had no knowledge of what red sea moss does on a medical level of sorts.
Mm-hmm. But you did hear verbatim that your mother would tell your grandmother that instead of insulin, take the sea moss?
Yes, and that development came towards the latter days in 2023, before we left the legacy of Cedar Hill.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Please hit the like, please hit the like, please hit the like. So, okay, I know this could be a lot. So you took Giovanni's ashes to your grandmother's homegoing, which I thought was so sweet.
Yes, I did.
And did you do it because you just wanted the sense of your brother to be there as well at the homecoming, or what was your thought process with that?
This was grandmother's funeral.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was going to go to that funeral, and if Dad was going to go to that funeral, I'm going to bring Giovanni too.
Oh.
All of us were going to go.
That is so sweet. For the people that don't know who Giovanni is Sam's deceased brother. Again, God rest Giovanni's soul. Yes. And also Jaguar Wright's deceased son, her eldest son. And Sam is her second and last born, the one that we are speaking to right now. So his brother, Giovanni, was cremated as well. And those were the ashes that people saw from the viral video of Jaguar. Yeah.
Those were his ashes, indeed.
Correct.
Now, I guess a small detail that's innocuous to all things considered. I'd like to state that he was half brother, not full brother.
Correct.
But I treat him as my brother nonetheless, full-blooded or no.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps therein lies another crucial detail, that blood doesn't matter when it comes to connections.
It doesn't. It really does not. That was your brother. Yeah.
He came along.
protected you and all of that stuff. So is that one of the reasons why you wanted to bring him as well, because he had always been your protector?
Yes. He was there to protect me in the times that my father couldn't.
Yeah. One of the last moments that you had with your brother, I do remember you were calling your mom, calling the police on Giovanni because she didn't want him living with you or your grandmother, although it was your grandmother's apartment.
Oh yes, allow me to disseminate this.
Go ahead.
So I believe everyone at this point knows some of the details that have led to my brother having to live a very hard road of a life. And he had just recently come back from jail. Those of you who know some areas in inner cities, sometimes when desperate situations call for desperate measures in order to get money, one way of doing them is to, sell on drugs with other people. Unfortunately, this is something that he had to do because he couldn't find any other job that would be able to adequately pay him, nor find a job that would take him, due to him having a record in juvenile hall, thanks to her.
Thanks. Who is her?
My mother.
Oh, okay. I was just checking.
So he had gone back from jail. He moved down with us. He was able to find some form of job. Things were looking on the up and up for him. However, my mother had made it known that she wanted him getting his own place. Now, some people will probably say that, well, Giovanni was, I believe, 23 at the time, so he really should be finding a place on his own. In that case, so should I, though I do not have any of the funds to do so at my age. And I believe my brother went through the same situation too. So he stayed with us, and I was perfectly fine. He did have to sleep in the bed that I had to sleep in the bed that I was sleeping with, and I had to stay with my mom for the time. But I was fine with it. I was fine with him being around. Heck, I was happy to see him at all. And one of my last fond memories that I had of him that I remember for the longest time was the both of us in the living room in Huntington Ridge on that unfortunate failure of a console that was the Wii U. Fond memories those are. However, as I said in our previous interactions, that my brother did not like my mother. And that was solely her own choices that led to such effect. Her
Can
choices
you repeat that?
and her actions.
Can you repeat that?
Okay. Okay. Allow me to clarify to everyone here that both me and Giovanni are good kids. The both of us have lived different lives, sure, and we are ages apart, but we were both good kids that needed good leadership.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, my brother at the time did not have a very good mentor since his mother didn't teach him anything. And those of you who have listened in some circles of music, I'm pretty sure you know that I am quoting a song here from a specific person. Yes, I can be a bit prophetic and speaking with someone as if I was reading the Bible, but sometimes things in life happen to connect with others in ways that we do not or sometimes do understand. And this one happens to as well. So, to clarify some of the things that my mother has done once again, and this was repeatedly physically abusing him on multiple instances. At times when he was younger, and when I wasn't born, and at times when I was born. I can't testify for the things that which I wasn't born because I wasn't born. However, I can due to connections with my family who have been able to attest to these things that have happened, especially those who have been around her, like say, oh, I don't know, her elder sister. Some of these things, including forcing my brother to do push-ups when he had a broken arm, and if not, resorted to whipping him in order to continue, even though he was crying tears.
So your
And-
brother was crying tears as a youngster with a broken arm, and your mother forced him to do push-ups?
Now, the crying tears part, that may be an additive from me, but it could be true because at the same time, what child wouldn't start crying if their
arm is broke?
Yeah, arm is broke, forced to do push-ups, putting pressure on that broken arm, and then getting whipped on the back on top of that. What child wouldn't cry?
100%.
And then there are two instances that, at least I can recall, that where my mother, in order to force obedience out of fear in him, would use a knife. Now, any knife would do, really, whether it be a regular like flat kitchen knife or one's used for cutting very thicker foods, and pull it up to his throat to force obedience out of him. These things are not.
As a teenager, or
one. I believe potentially as a teenager, one where I was very young and I would have no knowledge of it whatsoever, and another which would actually be in Huntington Ridge, no less.
Mm-hmm.
When I wasn't around to see it, I was most likely in school when it happened. So, those happened, and my mother was basically trying to force him to move out. Get his own life, if you want to go with a harsh visions of words. She did not say those things, of course, but that is basically the mindset that vividly describes what the attitude was.
So all of that was going on just because she didn't want him to live at her house? Like, he didn't do anything specifically? He was just got out of jail, was trying to get his life together, found a job, and she just wanted him out?
If you would ask her, she'd say that he was disrespecting her.
Okay.
However, for as much as I'd say, okay, you can claim that he was disrespecting you, at the same time, man doesn't have everything together. And heck, I'm living that same experience now in the time in one age younger than him when he was going through it. Yeah. So I can perfectly attest that he doesn't have everything together yet. He needs to plan everything in motion and be sure that he has enough money to be able to do so. And unfortunately, some of those jobs down there in Texas don't pay all that much, especially the ones that he was able to get with his unfortunate pedigree of sorts. So my mother was going to resort to any means in order to do so. And it turns out that around Christmas time, her option was the legal option with police officers. It would just so happen that it backfired in the worst way possible because Chicago had a warrant for her arrest.
Sorry.
And that's how she ended up getting extradited to Cook County Jail.
Yeah,
around Christmas time.
Your father had a governor's warrant out on her at the time.
Correct.
In Chicago. So she ended up calling the police on Giovanni to get Giovanni removed. And when the police got there, they actually ran her name too, which police normally do. And seeing that she had a governor's warrant, and instead of Giovanni going to jail, she went to jail.
Classic Uno reverse card. You are correct.
Wow. So now I just wanted to get a little backstory on Giovanni. So to trip back into the funeral, the homegoing, you did bring the ashes of Giovanni's because you wanted him to be there with you, but you also wanted to give your Aunt Lachelle some of Giovanni's ashes as well.
That is what we would do, yes.
Okay. So when you gave Lachelle some of Giovanni's ashes, did you find anything inside of what Giovanni's ashes was being held in? Did you find anything specific?
Yes, I did, as a matter of fact.
What'd you find?
Well, to be honest, I had found the object that was in there in question when I searched in it, like, say, months ago. But I didn't know what exactly it was, and I put it out of my mind, so I forgot it was in there. Mm-hmm. So I allowed my Aunt Shell to take it. As it turns out, what was in there has fully implicated my mother into something that I didn't think she was before, but now is practically confirmed to me as clear as day.
And what is that?
Mother, mommy dearest,
Mommy!
in all of my years of my life, for one thing, I never thought that you would ever get to the point where you would test my patience.
Oof.
But another thing in my life that I didn't think I'd ever say is that you were a thief. What did she steal?
What's
That
she
was
steal?
hidden away in my brother's ashes inside the milk carton that she carried around. The same thing that which she would use to spread all over herself and other people in Dallas, which got her that misdemeanor. It was a little treasure gotten by those who had served for our country, at least for a time, in the military. Now, who did that belong to? Because my brother didn't get into the military. I mean, he tried, but due to his record in juvie, he wasn't able to get into, not even the army. Thanks for that, by the way, Mom. You somewhat single-handedly thrusted my brother's life because of that. Forgive me for being petty. So who did that dog tag belong to?
Who?
Well, turns out two of my aunts. Wait, no, but I believe once again my aunt Lachelle, great woman that she is,
She
as
is.
well as I believe it was another aunt or cousin. Jeez, it's been a while since I've spoken to her. Haven't seen her since the funeral. Won't say her name because she's pretty much invisible in all this. I like to stay that way. Keep her life peaceful.
Absolutely.
They ended up finding out that the dog tag belonged to my Aunt Lachelle's ex-husband. Still the waters within thy soul, Sean. Still the waters within thy soul. The tempest
So
is
your
indeed beckoning.
mother had, first of all, milk carton.
Oh yes, it's like I believe I've measured it before. It's like a 4x4 by 8-inch like white box.
So she had Giovanni's ashes in a milk carton.
Yeah, or at least some of which that she bring along her in the car ride. The rest of it, the majority of it, was in a very decorative urn, as you'd expect. And those were the ones that she bring with her on car rides everywhere she went, including the ones that she'd use to spread amidst herself upon her face in a very cultish manner.
So in this milk carton that she had Giovanni's ashes in, she had your Aunt Lachelle's ex-husband's military dog tags inside of the milk carton with the ashes?
Yes. Now, I do not know if that was the confirmed destination of where they have been forever, since the only time in which I figured out that they were in there, at least empty-mindedly, was after I'd gotten them before, when Mom was arrested, the Penske truck got towed and was seized away, and then I had to get those out before I left to move back in with Dad. But yes, that is the final destination where they were before I obtained them.
Now, the dog tags were missing for what, 8, 9 years, 10 years, something like that?
My Aunt Lachelle broke it down.
Mm-hmm.
That dog tag was missing for a decade, 10 years. And right now, let me break this down for a second.
Yes,
let me put
break
you
it
all
down.
on game.
Because there's a lot that happened in this time of figuring this out about the whole 10 years and the dog tags missing, and she had the dog tags the whole time. So break this down, Sam. Go ahead. You have the floor.
Here is a timeline of what happened within those 10 years with specific events in mind.
Mm-hmm.
The dog tags went missing 10 years ago, which is part of the reason why the both of them broke up. A relationship ruined by her, no less.
So your Aunt Lachelle and your uncle, their relationship departed. Well, they departed the relationship, I should say, because of Jaguar.
I cannot say for sure, but I believe my mother had some major part in it. That is speculation. So
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I get it.
yeah. If it wasn't the case, then I apologize, and you may dismiss that. But I believe my mother had some part in it in some form or fashion.
Mm-hmm.
4 years later, Giovanni died, rest his soul, murdered in a time in which he was innocent. And to bring extra detail to that moment, to at least bring things up to speed, when this was at a time, in the time in which my brother, me, and Grandma Frances were staying in a little apartment in Little Creek in Cedar Hill after we were evicted from Huntington Ridge. Now, it was a place for a time, but the place was very low standard, let's say. And of course, grandmother's habits weren't getting any better. Giovanni did the best he could to keep us well protected, well fed, and safe. But a place like that can only offer so much at a time, especially when my brother needs to work.
Mm-hmm.
Leading to times where I'd face mild starvation because I didn't have any money going to my school account for breakfast or lunch due to Grandma Frances spending it all. And while there were times in which she did indeed make breakfast, where she did indeed make breakfast for me, she did her best at the time. It wasn't enough to adequately get me through the day, and so I'd end up going hungry for multiple days. It wasn't until, once again, my Aunt Shell, both of her daughters, another of my aunts, Aunt Deborah, or Aunt Debbie, if you will, and my father came in to the rescue. And that was when I moved out, lived with my dad in Plymouth Meeting. And when Grandma started living with Aunt Shell and Jamie and Jasmine. My brother had the choice to move out with both me and my dad, but he actively chose to stay there. He saw some potential in living there. So he saw the potential. Dad respected it. So Giovanni stayed back. And he was doing well for a time. He had his own place. He had a relationship with a nice lady, and he was making adequate money. So things are going
While you're
fine.
speaking of that, I do have a question about that. So your mom had said that Giovanni was working for Rock Nation. Was Giovanni ever he had an internship with Rock Nation? Is that true? Any of that true?
Honestly, I do not recall that in my mind, even if I look back into it. So, unfortunately, I cannot provide that. Meaning, the only source of that would be either Rock Nation or my mother herself. Granted, considering the state that my mother is in at the moment, she may not be all that trustworthy. So, you're better off needing to confirm or deny it, if you will.
Yeah. So no, that's fine. I just wanted to see if you knew. You say you don't have any recollection of that, so no, that's fine. You can keep going with your story though about
Okay.
Giovanni.
So my brother was doing fine. Then my mother was finally released. And when she got back, I don't know what she did when she finally met up with him again. But she was, in the nicest way possible, displeased, in the worst way possible, outright exasperated that he failed to keep me down there with him by the time she got back.
So she blamed Giovanni that when she went to jail because she called the police to try to get him arrested, but she had a governor's warrant on her placed by your father because she kept stealing you and not giving you and not following the custody agreement, that when she got out of jail, you were with your father in his custody, and she blamed Giovanni for that.
Exactly.
Okay.
In the simplest and rudest terms, she blames my brother for not being able to keep up her order-breaking acts. And this, in my mind, was the straw that broke the camel's back, which led my brother to attempt what led to his death. what was supposed to be a home invasion in order to get more money, to feel more safe from our mother, led him to a party in which he went to get a bit more money, a little more fame here and there.
Mm-hmm.
However, they had to take it outside at some point because it got very rowdy. And in order to prove himself and back him up, he had pulled out his own firearm, what was meant to be used for that house robbery. However, he never opened fire. He never used it.
Mm-hmm.
He might not have even armed it at the time. It was just a boast, something to prove himself. And to describe this scene, which my own mother has described at a time when she was still credible to me. He saw something on the ground at the mid of night. He went to pick it up. But in the interim, someone from the party came back, squared up with him. They pulled out their own firearm. And when my brother wasn't looking, as he had retrieved what he had saw, he was shot several times. And as if to add misery to the agony, the people had called the ambulance to the wrong address. So my brother was out there for 1 whole hour, fending for himself at the cold of night, while he was out there with gunshot wounds in his body, bleeding.
And this is what your mother told you?
That is what she told me before his funeral.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I did, and I still do lament what happened to my brother. But for the things that led up to it, my mother had multiple instances of leading him down this path. And I do have the full of mind to know that he still had a good heart within him, only led to do such things out of fear. I have all the mind to believe that he is in safe hands now with the Lord of Lords. Now then, that was 4 years after the dog tag was taken. 4 years after that, in 2022, 2 people had heart attacks. That would be my Aunt Shell's ex-husband and... Forgive me for disclosing this, but at this point, I have to bring up the identity of this person. My father. The both of them ended up having heart attacks within months' time between each other. And I even remember when my father was feeling those troubles in his heart in the Christmas of 2021. After my first fall semester at Westchester University. Two years passed after those who had heart attacks and survived. And what happens next? Within 4 months of each other, deaths in the family. 2 deaths. My Aunt Tilia, who happened to be another sister of my mother, and my Aunt Lachelle, and of course, Grandma Frances. Why do I bring this timeline up in the matter as such? Allow me to note to you, after the dog tag was taken, it was 4 years between that and my brother's death, 4 years between the 2 survived heart attacks, and between the 2 deaths, 4 months. The number 4 has been brought up 3 times, the same as the number of the beast, And in some places, and in some religions, the number 4 is synonymous with death. I have reason to believe that while this could be very heinous in conclusion, I have reason to believe that my mother in spiritual warfare is playing around with the instruments of death itself. This can be labeled as coincidental, but the 3 of these things happening in increments of 4 leans into that of a pattern. And I do not look over these things anymore. Not since I've been baptized on the first Saturday of last year. Simply put, these are disgusting things to bear witness to. You claim yourself as an Advent child and practitioner of God. Yet the actions that you commit, the actions which scream into the void infinitely more than the words that you dare profuse, are that of the great adversary. Mother, you have inflicted great harm upon many people. I want so desperately for you to be freed of this for the longest time. I knew that there was someone who had been stabbed by him, afflicted by him. And for the longest time, I didn't believe that it was you. It wasn't until I had an existential crisis in that Hilton hotel after you were arrested that I finally began to accept reality, true reality, and see you for all the wrongs that you have done, as well as all the rights. Like all things in life, I take the good with the bad. And though I treasure all the places that I've been with you, all the good memories we've made, from Shreveport, Louisiana, to DeSoto and Cedar Hill and in Dallas, and the road trips we took along the way, I cannot forgive or forget the wrongs that you have done to me, to Giovanni, to Grandma, to my father, to your sisters, and to everyone else whom you have greatly and severely damaged in your own maelstrom of madness. And there's still more to speak. For example, back to the time when I was whipped by an aux cord, or extension cord, which was actually an aux cord, the one that goes into a speaker.
Well, she said that that's not true because you can't remember the time and date of it.
Oh, yeah, hard to do so when I can't go into autistic detail about it when I'm not even autistic.
Correct.
Please don't try to capitalize off of a mental disability that I do not have for your own profit.
Thank you.
But guess what? I can remember some points about the date when it happened. And I know the very things that I can use as anchors of time to recall the date, or I guess more locally, down to the months and the year. There was a video game that I got for my birthday on that year that I treasure as one of the very things that have taught me at a young age existentialism. And one of the things that have allowed me to open this mind of knowledge and wisdom that I have. It's a game that not many people in its fan base really liked at its time, but came to like it for the story that it was trying to tell. Sonic and the Black Knight was released in the year 2009. And the event in which I got whipped was in the time when I was out of school, during the summertime, or at least late May. And when I regaled this with my Aunt Lachelle about my findings, which I'd deliberated during a very calm day during work, she was able to note around the time of what exactly happened to make that whipping happen. That time frame was in the same time, around the same time, a couple of days after Grandpop Norman died. Looping all the way back to when that moment when my mom had to ride those groceries from the grocery store down 73. Now, I can't say this for certain, but you were gone for multiple days, and in the time in which his funeral came around, you didn't want me nor Giovanni going to that funeral. Now, perhaps for a 7-year-old at the time, oh yes, I can now confirm my age, it was 7 years old. Perhaps seeing your grandfather's funeral was too much sadness for a kid, to which I find is perfectly understandable. However, one of our own relatives had to drive both me, my brother, and your mother to Aunt Debbie's house. And we stayed there for a good couple of days. And I remember that aberration of time in which I stayed at her house on Hawthorne Street in Frankfurt, the same street where I saw that shooting happen, and when we were trying to commemorate our own form of Giovanni's memorial.
Mhm.
I remember that time too, because that was one of the times in which I spent a lot of time playing Mario Kart 64 on my uncle's N64. And so I had an epiphany that was the reason why I was there for so long, because my mother didn't bring us to her funeral. And as if you thought that wasn't enough, she was very tempestuous at that time, my mom. According to my Aunt Shell, according to her, she could remember her saying something along the lines of, why did Grandpop Norman, why did her father have to die? Why couldn't it have been Mom? Something that no person would ever really wish on a funeral. You didn't want any of your parents to go.
Yeah.
It's as if she was fine and knew that her own mother was doing some wrong things back then that she didn't want her to be around for. Favoritism of parents. Hence why I don't engage in it. So at that time, while you were going through your own grief, you were in denial, you were in rage, and you were bargaining. Why did he have to go? For such a great man to leave. And so I have reason to believe that in the midst of that anger, when I went out into the mulch pit that day, when the repairs weren't fully done in that mansion in Voorhees, when I went into the broken glass area, swerving around it, in my fervent memories of playing the video game tie-in and watching the movie of Speed Racer, you decided to whip me with that aux cord. Not as a form of instilling a form of discipline punishment, but as a means and vessel of venting your own wrath and rage.
And as you are saying these things, you are not AI, correct? Any of the conversations that we've had, or you right now, you're really here, correct? You're not an AI. I'm not, you're not a robot on the other side of this,
I
because I know she has an infatuation with robots,
the
but
people
you're
who
not a robot.
I know you say these things for I know you say these things for clarification. However, to
Yeah.
those who profess such a thing of being a possibility when such knowledge or words have been put out in a recorded format, or for those who willingly believe that such a thing is possible when they shouldn't even fathom it to begin with, please, your mind is not in a right and equivalent state for this situation.
Mhm.
Forgive me for being so harsh on you, but
Oh no, you're fine. You're good.
this is not the time to be dismissing something with something as easily provable, as disprovable and debunkable as that.
Mhm.
Now, one thing can be noted. If I thought you said that one time of physical abuse that you suffered, why didn't Giovanni suffer that? Well, that's the thing. My brother had already been through abuse already.
Mhm.
So, if she did that to him, he would have tried to beat her up.
So you said if she would try to do the same things to Giovanni, it would have been a
If
problem. It would.
if she tried to do the same thing, my brother would fight her on that, despite how
Mm.
young he was. Which would mean that if that was indeed what went through her mind at the time, she actively chose to take out her stress and pain on me, the harmless little lamb who would never hurt a soul, who would never
Mhm.
let anger take over his heart to vent out those problems. And let me tell you, when I pieced that together in my own mind, I did not hesitate when I said these words verbatim. I'd always thought for the longest time that someone was that demons were infesting someone in the family, and it ended up being my mom. But no, she wasn't infested with demons. She had already become a demon in of herself. That kindness that I spoke of, the kindness that she had towards me, perhaps there is a little bit of love in there.
Yeah.
But now, with this revelation, that love is well and truly buried, has been buried for many years. And in my eyes, with the knowledge of many people who have been exposed as of this year, as as apparently dictated by Cat Williams, this could be seen as a form of grooming someone for your own purposes.
And you're saying you feel that way, that you feel groomed?
That is how I feel. It may not have been sexually.
Yeah.
It may not have been in a physical form. But manipulation, using me as her pawn, as shield and weapon against my father, against his family, and eventually her own family. This prodigal child. There's no. Forgive me, this is probably the only outburst that I'll do on live like this.
Oh, go ahead. I'll burst.
This prodigal child is an abhorrence to me.
Mm-hmm.
And in my dictionary of things that I hate, abhor and abhorrence are the lowest of them all on that scale, as in the most severe, worse than abominable, worse than tragic, worse than awful. To think that such a despicable fiend has used me no differently than that of a sword, as a tool, as a metallic thing that has no other purpose than its own, to give it some form of happiness and joy. Words cannot describe my unfathomable rage towards it. And not rage of something that I wish to just burst out, but rage that this being has been allowed to do all the things that it has done in its life. And what makes it even more sad was that this was all the result of a star who's been overinflated to such a state that it had burned out, not with a supernova, but with a blighted, festering cyst of an infection. It is clear to me now that, unfortunately, Grandpa Norman and Grandma Frances had spoiled my mother. She was always the favorited one, as according to what I've heard from the musings of my Aunt Lachelle. She was favorited by them, given a pocket TV at a very young age and even a phone. In times which my Aunt Lachelle on the landline had to be restricted to only so little time. People said to Norman at times, if you think Lachelle, if Lachelle is going to be someone who's going to be driving up your bills with the phone and whatnot, then Jackady's going to give you hell. And as it turns out, that was what happened. Hell arose upon him from his own daughter's overinflated ego at such a young age. And by young age, I mean before she was even a teenager. A star given such an overinflated ego at that age dooms it to a parasitical rot called the sin of pride. And such pride can easily explain all of this. The vindictive behavior towards those that slight her, the very over possessive things over the earnings that she has made in her life and all the things she can call are her. The very narcissistic, even though it has not been medically claimed, attitude she has about herself and her double standard towards other people. It explains all of this. A cosmic aberration born from an oversaturation, a eutrophication of love, turning into its double-edged alternative in the form of pride. This songstress of God has turned into a blightful siren, one who lures those who wander into her tempest into naught but destruction, chaos, and misery. And all those who've ended up on the other side have become better for it. I'm living proof of this. My father is living proof of this. And Goomba is living proof of this. Is it any wonder that any man that she has stayed with ever since my father has been better in life after she was gone?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, you're right. Anyone that she has pretty much encountered whose life has been elevated after her, I couldn't name a person. I couldn't name anyone.
Yeah. Everyone.
Is that how you feel? Do you feel that your elevation didn't start until you separated from her?
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. That much is for certain. Because I know for sure that if it were me right now, if I was still with my mom, I wouldn't be able to openly speak with Aunt Shell or my father or my or his mother or anyone else in my family in the way that I am now. Mm-hmm. There is no way that I would have this strength to be able to speak such things and such horrors without the help of everyone else who had known better.
Yeah.
Like,
so did you feel like oppressed, like you truly had no voice, like invisible, is how you felt?
Yes. I perceived myself as a ghost of the internet, a ghost of existence. That I didn't have a soul in true. Mm-hmm. That After all those years, that little fabrication of a ghost of destitution I called disembodied, way back when I was 12 years old, that ghost that in my heart questioned and over criticized my own well being, wanting to drive me to death, was right. As it turns out, those feelings weren't born from some, weren't born, were born not from me being very overcritical. Well, perhaps that's how it was shaped.
Yeah.
But even back then, it was shaped from all of the things that I had to go through because I was with her.
%. You got some recent calls from your mother after I did the premiere over here of our conversations, which are not AI, by the way. Those are Sam, authentically Sam Jr., because she keeps saying it. So just for clarification, purposes, you rejected a few of her phone calls. Why?
Yes, this was after.
Was it because I told you to? Because she swears that I'm the reason y'all don't talk.
Allow me to describe the full scene, please.
Go ahead.
This was on the same day after the second premiere was released. I called my aunt Lachelle, and coincidentally enough, after my aunt Lachelle asked if my mom had called as of recently, or if I called her, I said no. It had been months, or at least a month. And guess what? After I called my aunt Shell, and in minutes after I was deliberating under myself, making some artwork for my good client, Mom called. And I was going to answer, Mom. However, with the strings of calls that you have called about recently, with the many things that you have spoken to me about your own desires, of wanting me to leave, professing that the Illuminati or shadow organization or third party of some kind has information that is going to explode my father's reputation and make me all the worse for it. With all of that emotional distress and panic and mania, I want to know part of it. I had boiled you down to the simple script of an NPC in a video game. And I decided that I didn't want to partake with it on that day. So I did not answer. Willingly did not answer. Twice. And in these recent times in which I'm contacting with Sean now, since it's been months since we've spoken, I'm glad that he was able to give me some time, and it has allowed me to calm down after all of this nonsense. Now, I have been kept a buck thanks to my aunt Lachelle here and there due to the troubles that you've been pestering her about, which I ask you, please stop. She has her own life to deal with, and so does everyone else, but your sister especially, since after your mother died, both of your mother. But also through Aunt Lachelle of Danny. I decided, you know what? It's been a while. Let me call Sean and see what's up. And as it turns out, it is also in the time in which I've crafted that little memoir of myself when I was still with you. When I had decided to adopt that into a full-on text. Currently in a Google document as a beta, but will soon become a full-on autobiographical tale. One of confession from one's own writing for the questionable things that he has unfortunately seen due to needing a coping mechanism for the things that you have done, and a request for a penance. I've heard of the many things that you have done, Mother. And beyond you being a vindictive thief, and there are two other things that I will note here. First off, when did you decide to become a profane prostitute? I have heard tellings that there are some occasions where you have exposed your naked breasts, the ones that you would use to feed me when I was young, and how you would expose yourself onto the moonlight in your communion. Which one has possessed you? Is it the one that gave birth to the Nephilim? The one who holds control over the many legions of demons? The very questionable first wife of Adam himself? Or of the one who is the embodiment of sin and princess of the Cliffoth, the tree of death? Please, do not be as desperate as those unfortunately money-hungry female Twitch streamers. It does not suit you. Or it might, considering God has deemed fit to give you to an irreparable mind and has stripped you of your angelical voice, that which brought you your career. And second off, do you remember those times when you had told me and you would speak to other people when you told Giovanni not to get those games, Grand Theft Auto?
Mm-hmm.
Allow me to enlighten some people about some details about that U-Haul truck, that Penske truck. When we went over to the Hilton Hotel in Shreveport, Louisiana, when it was towed. On the day that it was supposed to be towed, my mom didn't bring it back. So I'm guessing many of you think that my mother had kept it there for like a whole day when she was supposed to bring it back. Well, guess what? The day in which the U-Haul truck was supposed to be returned was the same day we went on that drive to the Hilton Hotel, meaning my mother had mere hours to find a place to move all of our stuff and then bring the truck back. Now, why didn't she decide to do it overnight? What happened after all the time? Did it take that long for us to be able to get over to the Hilton Hotel in Shreveport, Louisiana? No, it was only, say, I'd like to say maybe a 2-hour drive at most, maybe. I forget how much time it took. And I know I'm saying some things here that maybe I shouldn't say, but in a no other choice scenario, I did indeed have to be the one who drove me and my mom in that very goldish brass car to that Hilton Hotel in Shreveport, Louisiana.
And that day, how many times did we talk? Because I kept calling you. I was so worried about you driving the van and whatnot. I called you so many times that day.
Many of you were worried, and I think we may have hit some dead zones along the way, which prevented me of getting any calls.
Yeah.
But I will profess to you all now that at that time, I didn't want to do it, not just because I was uncomfortable with doing the drive, but also because as of this moment, I haven't got my driver's license yet. And neither did I have it there either. In other words, someone who was unlicensed, who shouldn't be driving to begin with, had to drive. And I was most certainly willing not to. But someone had to. Someone had to drive the truck and someone had to drive the car.
And my mom, in her state, wouldn't be able to drive safely. So I decided to take up that mantle. And by God's grace, I was given such immaculate driving proficiency that the only time in which we had to stop the car on the road was when we were in Louisiana, very close to that Hilton Hotel, when it was coming to nighttime and I didn't know how to turn the headlights on. And I knew I had to stop to do that because when my brother was still around, and we were in Dallas after a bowling trip, we ended up getting pulled over because he didn't have the headlights on in the car. So I knew that I had to do that and make that stop. But other than that, I had no problem with driving down I-30. No problem on that highway trip at all whatsoever. Not even when it came to changing speed limits. Because that is how responsible I am. And as a child of Gen Z, that should speak to you how knowledgeable I am. It doesn't even feel as if I'm a member of this same generation that I'm in. The same ones that think that it was okay for a time to commit borderline criminal acts for the sake of clout. The invisible pathogen that inflicted my mother years ago.
Wow.
And I'm willing
so
to.
Entertained. I'm sorry. I'm just like, I don't even want to talk. I just want to just listen to you.
I thank you for lending a listening ear, and especially for all of you who haven't left yet. Now, why do I bring this moment up now? Because to clarify with you people, on the same day in which the truck had to be returned, on the night when my mom got the truck, we stayed in, I believe it was also a Hilton Hotel in Dallas on that night before the truck had to be returned. Meaning in the vital hours in which my mother should have used to get those things moved before and return the truck, she spent many of them sleeping away. And we didn't even get started until roughly 11 or noon. It wasn't until then when we hit the road. And now my own mother is on the most wanted list on that town where she got that truck from. There's no other way around it, mother. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, no lost context, nothing lost in translation. You are a certified criminal. If I were younger, I wouldn't even dare to have said these words, let alone even believe it. But now with the wisdom that I've gained, I have the strength to say it as such. Now allow me to say this, that if I were a different person, in my mind, if I heard the same context happening in a different scenario and I wasn't related to you at all, I would say that you don't deserve Giovanni's ashes, considering what you've decided to do with them. And that every ounce that you decide to throw out upon yourself and the other people and into the air of Dallas is another ounce of our brother that won't be fully assembled and brought back. But if I were a different person, if I were a bit more strict, you wouldn't deserve the ashes of your mother either, considering what you did with my brothers.
Absolutely.
You crave them. You lust for them for your own shamanic or, I guess, ritualistic desires for your own purposes to try and generate your own wealth when you very well cannot, because you owe so much money. You owe money not only to my father, but you owe money in taxes to the IRS. And you've actively looked into ways to dodge them, such as using your mother as your own, using your own mother's pension and retirement as your own personal wealth. And that is undeniable as well, because the money gotten from Philadelphia in the time when you were with Goomba, even back then, I was well cognizant and aware that we weren't getting as much money that we should have. Why? because we were getting so much money, you would have been able to at least help pay the student loans that I had to incur in order to go to college. Or perhaps more evidently, you would have gotten your own mother the proper help she needed in the time she was in your care. But you didn't. Instead, you decided to use it to prop up your own image as Jaguar Wright. For more wealth, for your own spendings, and if it did help us, tangentially, all the things that you purchased along the way with it. Unfortunately, that does indeed mean that you are, in fact, bad at spending your money, investing in ways that aren't beneficial and helpful to you. And with that amulet around you, don't think I don't see what you're doing. That amulet you wear upon you, tell me, that's a conduit for you to commune with the devil, isn't it? That's your conduit. That is what you use to commune with him. Because let's be honest, you don't commune with God. If you were, you wouldn't openly speak to me and Legina on the south side of Lamar last year of your infidelity against my father when you were still with him before you were divorced. And how you did so graciously. And if she somehow manages to have some way to speak, Legina can attest to that too. In fact, you would go on about it and how he was gay and how he was wearing skinny jeans many times. And I heard those in earshot too while we were staying together. Before we left Huntington Ridge, when you were in and out of jail for your misdemeanors and your ratchet behavior. What disgusting filth you turned out to be. I love you from mother to son, but I abhor the demon that you are. With this book, I shall do what I can to let the truth ring out as bare as you would under the moonlight, as clear as a still ocean. Of all of the sins that you have committed, of all of the wrongdoings that you have done, and expose you for the demon that you are. And if some part of you there is still human, then you are a human who's been cast at the bottom of the abyss, chained to the teeth of Leviathan, the spiritual being that serves as the very gateway to hell itself. Because you're not going to heaven, not with the things that you have done and you have refused to repent for the wrongdoings that you have chosen to do in this life. We will mourn. Me, Giovanni, Grandma, all of us will mourn that we have to leave you because we love you. But God will wipe those memories and those tears away from us. I want you to take that mask off, Mom. I want to see what's under those achievements. And why would we believe you? Because as far as things stands right now in regards to this, as far as we've spoken, you have given us nothing to believe in. You lied about religious views. You've lied about your family. You've lied about your relationships, your businesses. Look at all of this perjury that you've spurned. You've lied about my words. You've lied about others' words. Look at that. I didn't know that you were a writer as well.
Mm.
Too bad that the ones that you write are utter fiction.
Mm. Lord.
You've
Yeah.
lied about you lied and projected about my abuse that was supposedly coming from my father when it was you. You lied about relationships that you had with my brother being a nice one, that he was always on the bad side of, that he was the one that instigated this. You lied about all those very bipolar-ish relationship that you had with other ladies before they parted ways with you.
Mhm. Since you're talking about her lying, because we were, the last time you and I spoke, we were going to give the audience an update about you filing to be in the Army or the military. What happened to that? Why can't you be a part of it as of right now? What is the hiccup in your background that is withholding you from being in the Navy or the Army?
About that.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I couldn't get into the Navy and the reason why I couldn't get into the Air Force was because of the moments that have been labeled as suicidal ideation, anxiety, and depression. Things which would be seen as negatives in a person that you wouldn't want anyone in an airplane or in a submarine to be wanting to experience, even if they haven't done that. But guess what? I am not a person who has undergone suicidal ideation. The any suicidal thoughts that I had, and even any plannings, were all born from the overcritical emotions. I may have thought of these things that I could have possibly done if I wanted to cross to death, but I never did. I did these things because I had felt these things because of all of the things that I had suffered up to that point. That a 12-year-old child was responsible for casting his own mother into jail when in actuality it was her own causing herself. Kidnapping me effectively. And even if you say that I gave my consent to do it, a 12-year-old child who had been through evictions 3 times at that point, twice legitimately, but the third time having been forced and basically banned from being banned from the apartment place. It's distressing. And if you want to bring out any negative things about me that I've done to try and damage my character, guess what? I'm willing to own up to them too, when you aren't able to own up about yourself. I feel bad for the kid that got expelled from Kearney or General Phillips Elementary, which I spent which I attended from the end of 3rd to 6th grade, because he ultimately played a joke because I wanted to run around fast. And he wanted to slow me down, and everyone laughed about it, and I tried to fit in with the crowd as the introvert that I am. Such antics which led to me laughing at another kid who was similar to my position, which I felt bad about.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel awful that I allow myself in the art space of the community internet to allow myself to devote my artistic passion to a very weird and a very distasteful community, even when I was still a minor, for the sake of coping with the things that I had done. And I'm willing to protest those things in some detail within the book, and you can all interpret the details from there. But what about you? You tried to medically implicate your son as an autistic genius. And for what? Me being labeled as autistic wouldn't help me. In fact, it would harm me, because it would legally bind me from being able to do some things that I'm physically capable and mentally capable of doing, because I'm an average person just with an above average intelligence.
Correct.
Let's face it. The reason you wanted me implicated as a kid under under Prozac and Abilify. The reason you wanted me to be labeled as a schizophrenic or labeled as an autistic child was because you saw the benefit, the governmental benefits of it in lucrative wealth, and you wanted to profit and exploit it. If you did think such things, mother, once again, I already said what I thought of such a being as my mother. You're nothing more than an abhorrent, a despicable one, who only wants wealth to only elevate her desecrated idol, that is her singing identity. This songstress is cursed.
Ooh. So your mom lied about a diagnosis that you never had to prevent you from going back to your father and trying to file benefits such as like Social Security benefits and maybe even disability benefits for you. So it was all about money and keeping you away from your father, but you have never been diagnosed by a doctor or anyone else to have any diagnosis, I don't know, like autism or schizophrenia, any of that stuff. None of that is true. She just told the doctors that you did. They noted that information, and it's holding you back from joining the Navy, the Air Force, all over a lie.
Absolutely. And if there was a claim that was put in there, which was done eventually because, well, the people at Medical City Green Oaks are doing their job.
Yeah.
It was debunked when I had returned to my father when I was returned to my father after the new year, after the week that I spent at that hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I am an able-bodied young man who was not only capable but willing to serve this country and aid in safeguarding the protection of all of the freedoms we've been able to have over all of these years.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it means that I must be cast into a battlefield far from home, I'm willing to part with it because I know that God is with me. And he and his angels shall safeguard me on that field. Yet you don't want to cast your son into that war. And you say it is because that you don't want me to see war, to which I can believe. In fact, as a matter of fact, my Aunt Lachelle feels the same way too. But no, that's your over-possessiveness talking, isn't it? You just want to have me. You want me at your side at all times. Your trusty little trump card, your big joker, your very own armament, your own Chris, your manipulation, your cultic, ritualistic blade of rebellion.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna pause right there because I have two more questions. Hold on, I want to get into these super stickers real quick. Shout out to Special Girl. She says, "DavieWay Effect, love you, Sean and Sam Jr. Thank you so much, sweetheart." Shout out to Bree for gifting 5 membership. I really appreciate you guys. I'm sorry, y'all. Sam has had me like hooked. I'm sorry. I'm not ignoring y'all. I'm just like hooked on Sam right now. Shout out to Bree. Thank you so much for gifting the 5 memberships. Shout out to Ahmad, says salute to Sam Jr. Absolutely. Shout out to Sam. Shout out to Jamila for becoming a member. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Shout out to Realistic Dream for the super stick. She says, keep up that great work. Thank you so much. Shout out to Pia Parker. She says, the spectrum has many faults. My son graduated with honors. Shout out to you, Pia Parker. Shout out to Detroit for becoming a member on YouTube. Shout out to Queen T. She says, I feel so bad for him. Thanks, Sean Fire's show. One thing about this, I do want to say this too. Sam is not speaking out against his mother out of anger. He's not speaking out against her to try to make people cancel her or anything like that. This has been years of frustration. And not only years of frustration, Sam has tried to talk to his mother time and time and time again, right? Sam is always getting cut off, or the conversation is not met with cordialness to where he can get out how he feels. He has not been able to do that. And he wouldn't be doing it publicly if she wasn't. She always speaks for him publicly, puts words into his mouth. She feels comfortable doing those things because Sam does not have a platform to say his own words, to put it into his own, image or experience, or, and whatnot. So that is why Sam is here. Sam is here because he is consistently put in the forefront of his mother, and people actually believe the things that she's saying with no proof. So why can't he speak for himself? There's nothing wrong with that. This isn't an attack. This is just him, and it can be therapeutic. It's just him getting out how he feels. And the point of interest of people speaking from his perspective comes from him versus someone else. So this is not an attack. He has not attacked her. And shout out to all of the people in the chat that understands where this is coming from. It's just, he's just been frustrated. He wants to speak. And of course, I'm going to allow him to do just that. Shout out to Tasha Sherry. She says, thank you, SeanDavieWay, mods in chat. Great show, Sean. Thank you. And God bless you, Sam. Thank you so much, Tasha, for the super sticker. Thank you so much to Miss V. She says, Jack has been officially popped by Sam Jr. And shout out to Miss V. Shout out to Miss, I'm just going to say Miss P. Shout out to you. She says, put this on a drive. Sam needs to publish this. Oh, Sam is getting this book together. Trust me. And y'all make sure y'all follow him on Coffee at Smith Sorrow. That is SORO. Make sure y'all follow him. It's pinned in the chat. And also his Cash App is pinned in the chat too. If anybody want to send him any blessings or anything like that, or just, appreciating his time for being here. Absolutely. They're both pinned at the top of the chat. Shout out to Cleveland Girl. Thank you so much, sweetheart, for the super sticker. She says, this interview is fantastic. Thank you so much, Cleveland Girl. I really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Shout out to Felinda. I hope I'm saying that right. For the super sticker. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Shout out to Miss A for gifting 5 memberships. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh my God, you guys are so lit. Shout out to True Dope Life. She says, Slade by your own seed is wild. Shout out to you. Shout out to Sis Roxy for being a member for 29 months. She says, not the K-Dot reference yet.
Yep. Make the grams.
He absolutely referenced K-Dot. Sam did not. Look, Sam doesn't have some time to think, and this is what he came up with. Shout out to Miss Gina for being a member as well. So, Sam, I know your mother has said to you in the past that she is the queen of YouTube. How do you feel about that? Shout out to KB. Shout out to KB. She said, Sam, you are on the right path now. Sam, how do you feel about that? Your mother said, Jaguar said she is the queen of YouTube. How do you feel about that?
Oh, dead son. Oh, dead son that you are. Thinking that you are the queen of this platform we call YouTube. This very thing which led me down that dark path through my own searchings as an 11-year-old child. This very thing that I've seen very people who made playthroughs of things that developed my interest in gaming, developed in every other thing that allowed me to watch shows that I watched when I was a child, that I'd like to see again, to watch movies that I watched as a child, that I'd like to see again. You're not the queen of anything.
Oh, Lord.
Now, let me say this. I may proclaim myself as Lord Soranexel, Smith Lord Soranexel, but I don't propagate myself as a lord of anything, really. If anything, I'm a lord of a specific vision, a lord of a very artistic vision, one that takes a grand scope of things and melds them into an understanding on a spiritual and existential level. That I claim myself as a lord of that, but it's nothing more.
Absolutely. Ooh.
You profess yourself to be the queen of this platform called YouTube. Well, allow me to ask for proof of that in the simplest way possible. If you're the queen of YouTube, where's your play button?
Oh, Lord.
Oh, I'm not talking about the red and white one. I'm talking about the diamond one. The one that is supposedly made of diamonds. The gold one. The one that shimmers like the setting sun. Or even the silver one. Even the silver. Even the silver. Do you have that? Did you ever get that? No, you never did. And you most likely, as a matter of fact, you either most likely or you never will get one. And don't say that you deserve it by technicality because of your cumulative subscribers. Oh yeah, I said cumulative because I know that you've been through many YouTube channels over these
Oh
months.
God.
Many of them deleted because you've said some very horrible things that do not deserve to be said on this platform. And if you believe that I am an AI, this solar spirit molded of blue flames is no robot.
Mm.
And if you try to dare say that this person who is speaking, which is clearly Samuel Douglas Odom II, the
Correct.
proud son of Samuel Douglas Odom I and Jacqueline Suzette Wright,
Mm.
is in fact an imposter, and you want to try and do what he can so that he gets deplatformed, so that his music videos and his art videos are taken down with his channel, never be able to upload his videos again because he's quote unquote stealing my son's art, know that you'd be stepping into illegal territory that many big YouTubers that I know who are known for their credibility alike, such as, I guess these are shout outs here and there, Charlie, aka Moist Critical or Penguin Zero, Mudahar from
sent you a
Sort of
cash
Ordinary
app.
Gamers.
I just sent you a cash app. That was a read. I don't even think you were trying to read, but you just did. I'm just saying. I just sent you a cash app. That was epic.
Gotcha. If you want to go forward with trying to false copyright strike my videos for quote unquote stealing your son's artwork when your son is posting these himself, go ahead and do so and reap the benefits of that punishment. Which is, as they say, you fuck around, you're gonna find out. Forgive me for such boorish language, but it is by definition what it is, and I'm not going to dress it up as anything else. After all, I'd like to be a clear gemstone known as honesty. And what is more beautiful than a gemstone that is as clear as it? Much like a perfect diamond. So go ahead and do so and earn yourself all of that sweet, sweet popularity that you'll earn by finally making the big time. What was that quote? What was that? I believe the movie reference here would be Nightmare on Elm Street 3, talking to Jessica. This is it, Jessica. Your big break in TV. Welcome to prime time, bitch. From Freddy Krueger. Go ahead and do that. Reap the fame you so crave along with those ashes, and forever cement yourself as a stain amidst the public populace, not just in this circle that is conscious of you, but in mainstream as well. Go on and further prove your condemnation from all of reality. And personally, I think you need it. As a matter of fact, no, you need something more than that. You're coming up to 15 soon, yeah? I'm not 15, 50, the age of 50, yes?
Correct.
That's the prime time of the midlife crisis, correct?
But I mean, would that apply to her when she's been going through one for like the last 10 years?
If she has been, then she has been crippling from that for many years. Yeah. No, she has not been crippling from that for many years. She has not gone through an existential crisis. She is only in delusion. Money's always been illusion, but that's a life she's used to. She needs that midlife crisis in order to fully see whom she is. Look back on her life and the half point of her own life and see where she is. Either that or ayahuasca, strip the ego from the bottom. She needs to fully see who she is and break away the mask that she has put on herself. She's a good actor, I'll tell you that. She can make many personas. Oh yes, by the way, this is basically me saying that I believe J Polar is kind of depreciated because she is not.
Did you just say J Polar?
I mean, everyone's like I said, that is the term that everyone's going with, and I dare not shy away from it as such. I will be direct, and I will be honest.
Oh my God, I cannot. I could not. I've never heard you say that before. Wow. Y'all, he just said J. Polar. Yeah, Polar is the winning nickname because she has a lot of nicknames. But J. Polar, that one came from me. That's a piece.
Short and sweet and to the point. Short and sweet and to the point.
Not.
Yes, but I do believe that nickname is depreciated, at least in my eye, because she is not bipolar by any means whatsoever. She's just a good actor.
Oh.
She's an actor who gets stuck in the mask that she fabricates and she puts on. And unfortunately, as many who know, those who get lost in a persona, those who wear that mask for far too long, end up becoming that persona and lose their true selves. That's why I said she needs either ayahuasca or that midlife crisis to fully see who she has become, to break her down to her fundamentals, to break her down to back to Jacqueline. It's only then where we'll see her true character.
Yeah.
Where the demon will finally be perished. Wow. If Jacqueline breaks along with it, then sadly enough, that is fate, and we know where she's going to end up. But if she doesn't break, if Jacqueline truly is strong, then I want her to rise out of that abyss she delved herself into, that void of darkness. Break away that mirror that's casting her nothing but falsehoods, and rise up to the light that was once what she bathed in, which is the light of the Lord.
Yes.
Only then will she truly gain her voice back.
Yeah, we might need a little prayer. Shout out to Evangelist Val. Val, you in the chat, girl? Girl, Val.
We need it.
It's at the house ablaze. Do you hear me? Do you hear me?
I will use the flames indicative of my own entity that I use to envision myself to do so. I have uprooted the flower that has been planted in me and have burned it. I've taken the blade and have used the hammer that I used to forge my creations to break it to pieces.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now I am going to cleanse this demonic entity that dares pretend to be my mother.
Oh, Lord. Oh, hold that thought. I'm going to drop the link into the chat. Goomba, I know you're at work. I don't know if you have a second, but if you just wanted to hop up for a second and just say hey to Sam, I know it's been a while since you guys have spoke to each other. You absolutely can. If you're busy, Goomba, that's fine. Also, I did speak to Sam earlier, and he did say that he does not mind having a cordial conversation with you, Jaguar. I know you are here. If you would like to come up and talk to Sam cordially, that is fine. But I mean, if you want to go behind the scenes too, that completely makes sense as well. If you know Sam wants to reach out to you, you want to reach out to Sam, that's completely fine. Obviously, I have no dog in that fight. But if you would like to come up, Jaguar, and speak to Sam, you absolutely can. But I will not tolerate any disrespect. You will not curse at him. None of that stuff will go down, because that's not what the link is for. But if you would like to speak to your son, you have every right to do it. So you have every right to speak for yourself. I would definitely say, if you are going to come up here, Jaguar, to engage your son, do not speak to me. We don't have anything to talk about. But if you would like to speak to your son, you absolutely can. But don't come up here expecting to talk to me, because we don't have nothing to talk about.
Full disclosures, he did try to call me midstream as well, and I decided to hang her up.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Shout out to Goomba. Is this Goomba?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Goomba. Welcome to the show.
What up, SeanDavieWay? What's going on, stepson?
Oh,
I'm doing lovely. How about you?
I'm so proud of you, Sam. You hear me?
Yeah.
I hear every truth come out of your voice. I hear how happy you are, and I'm so proud of you. Know that. The conversations we had at back home in Cedar Hill, you know I was trying to help, and I thank you for giving the truth out and putting the truth out there. And I'm so proud of you. That's all I can say. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, this is so sweet.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to hear those words.
Look, and I see you grew up. I'm talking about you sprouted up. You got taller now. I seen you at grandma's funeral. I was there on Facebook. I couldn't fly to Philly. But yeah, I was there, show my condolences. And when I seen you go to the pulpit, I was like, damn, Sam done got tall. He is a true tree of life and just sprouting. Just look at you. I'm so proud of you, Brian. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
Most
this is so
definitely.
sweet.
But yeah, I'm at work. I'm in a team meeting right now. They can't hear me, but
Oh, you go right ahead. I'm sorry. I just
Go right
saw you
ahead.
in the chat,
no, you good?
and I would love to hear y'all speak to each other because I know it's no love lost. Both of you still care
Yeah.
much about each other. So I just wanted to make sure y'all had that moment. That's all.
Thank you so much, Sean. I really appreciate that. And
No problem.
I'm gonna put in the back chat my new email address. Send me what you're working on and what you need help with, Sam. I got you, like I always have.
Thank you. I'll be sure to reach out when I can.
For sure, for sure. Love you. Have a good one now.
Thank you very much. Love you
Oh,
too.
Oh, that's so sweet. So go ahead. Sorry, Goomba. Go ahead. Finish. You just said thank you.
No, I just said thank you, Sean.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no problem.
I'm about to put that into the private chat right now.
Yeah, put it back there, and I'll make sure he get. Sorry, and I'll make sure he gets it.
All right, bet.
Shout out to Goomba for coming up. I really appreciate that. I know that these men had, because again, Sam is grown. He is a man, and it was just a lot of friction and inconsistencies that caused a lot of stuff that shouldn't have happened. And I'm just glad that you two got a chance to talk because I know you are fond of Goomba, and I know Goomba is fond of you. So
Yeah.
chance to speak to one another. So yeah, shout out to Goomba for coming up, and I will make sure that you get that email address. You said earlier that you saw the videos that I had put up of the conversations that you and I had that was on Coffee before we brought them over here. And you also said that because you called me because I reached out to you when Mama Francis passed away, and your father, and I was just trying to give y'all time because I know that could be a lot. So I have been contacting you or anything. Again, I was just letting you get into your new process, everything that you're working and all that good stuff. So I was just trying to let you do that. And you said that you came back and you were watching Danny Robertson. Is that correct?
Well, I guess personally speaking, sorry to break this to everyone, but I haven't actually seen the works of Danny Robertson. The most of the knowledge that I have been gaining once again through my aunt.
Okay.
But
and she's a big fan of Danny, correct?
Yes, as Danny is the one who has stayed in kind of the same position I was at in the storm, looking in, seeing what my mother's doing. I'm glad we have someone who is able to keep an eye on her.
So shout out to Danny Robertson for keeping tabs for you and your family when it comes to your mother, correct? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, Danny! Danny, we love you, girl. And Sam don't have no issue with you, Danny. So don't, because I know his mother has tried to make it seem a certain way, but no, he doesn't have a problem with you. Correct? I'll let you speak for yourself.
That is correct.
Okay.
Keep an eye on her, at least until things die down with her. At least she's decided to change, though I doubt that will be any different. She has been the font of profit for many people but herself, and she'll continue to do so until she realizes that she's being milked for wealth.
Absolutely. So shout out to you, Danny, for keeping a watchful eye. And Sam would really appreciate it if you kept your eye on her so that he could keep tabs from a distance. He would really appreciate that, Danny. Girl, we love you, Danny. Keep doing everything that you're doing.
Certainly.
Absolutely. So with all of that stuff being said, this has been a wonderful interview. With all of that being said, I had a good question. Where was it? You're completely open with having a relationship with your mom, correct?
Always have been, always will be. Just because there's a demon pretending to be my mother doesn't mean I don't want a relationship with her. I want to be able to talk with her like mother and son, of course. And I want to be able to grow past these things.
Yeah.
I'm willing and open to do it.
And your father and myself, because I can say this about the both of us, have we not always encouraged you to have a relationship with your mother? Have I ever told you, don't talk to her, don't go around her, stay away from her? Has that ever been a conversation?
The both of you have always wanted me to have a relationship with my mother, and you've always encouraged that. That much is for certain. Even if it was through a certain forma that I didn't jive with at the time when I was a kid, because I always viewed physical relationship more than more than one through the cell phone.
it's nonetheless a relationship that is better than none at all.
Mhm. Correct. Because she, like you said, and we've said to you, she's still your mom at the end of the day. So we always
She
told
is
you the ball
still
is
my
in your
mother.
court. Yeah, the ball is in your court. However you feel like you want to handle the situation. I've always told you I will support you. If you want to talk to your mom and have a relationship with your mom, I'll support that. And if you don't want any dealings, if you want to cut her off, then I'll support that as well. Shout out to the plainest Jane. I love you, plainest Jane. Oh my God, I love you. So what brought you to, because it's in the title, what brought you to the point to where you wanted to cut ties with your mother? What was your just like, you know what, I'm done? How did you get there?
What led me to effectively cut ties with my mother, the
Mm-hmm.
breaking point, if you will. The breaking point for me was when I tried to lay everything that I had considered. Well, it's basically a twofold. It's a twofold process.
Mm-hmm.
The first sign of me tenuously cutting ties with her was when she was, that one call that that when I told you that I had hung up on her for the first time in my life,
Mm-hmm.
when she was constantly talking over me, not allowing me to get my words fully in, allowing things to fully set in and describe for her how this basically stating that I'm a liar. At that point, I couldn't take it anymore. At that point, it had reached too much of a breaking point, especially when you consider the fact that this son, was willing to die because he thought that he failed protecting you.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's an implication that many people may have forgotten, but
Mm-hmm.
that is something that pretty much went through my mind. This son is willing to do what he can for you to uphold his relationship. And basically this was the thanks I get. So yeah, that's when I basically snapped the bridge from there. But I decided I'll give her another chance. Hopefully we can talk through this, but at some point maybe. But knowing that it is very possible that she used me as a heat vent, as a sponge for her frustration over the death of her own father way back when I was 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That to me basically cemented it that there was almost never truly any love from my mother. She did show favoritism and allow me to see these very things, but all of that kindness, who's to say that kindness wasn't just another instrument to encourage love towards her?
Mm-hmm.
She is still my mother at the end of the day, and thus I still love her. But for the person that she is as a person, I could never love that person.
Oh.
I would almost rather hope that a person like that never existed. Because it's these types of people that can heavily damage people on such a small but a very significant scale. These are the people that make voids in others' hearts, doubt their own persistence of reality, that make them feel pain for so much time.
You just
And
sound like you're really hurt by her.
yes, I was very hurt by her. That much is for certain. She really hurt me. It was palpable. And for a time, it felt like I could feel the very void, as if it were a mark that were on my chest that would never go away.
Yeah.
But over time, with age, with wisdom, and with the right people leading me, I've learned to let go of such pains. Or at the very least, not let them take over me.
Yeah.
Heck, within this year alone, this year past alone, I've read several stories talking about how pain may be a prominent thing, but it doesn't last forever, and it will eventually pass.
Yeah.
And in some of those stories, it focuses on characters who held cosmic permanence or were immortal. So to learn such lessons from me, from the stories of another focusing on fiction, and not from my own mother, that can only be described as the failing of a parent.
Yeah.
And that's when I basically cemented my disassociation with her on many levels. Though I am open to having this relationship, I am not open, nor will I ever be open to the things that you have allowed, that you let pull, that you allowed to enact upon me.
Mhm.
I love you, Mom. I really do. But you never once gave me the chance to speak. So now, if I won't be able to speak to you in an amicable, peaceful way, I'll say this to you in the place that I know you're going to be able to hear it. And I believe it's too late now, but you're not going to like the things that you're going to hear. You're going to feel pain from them. But you're going to need this pain to grow. Your son has witnessed firsthand what it means to live inside your own bubble and having reality pop it right in front of his eyes. It's time for you to do the same.
So your reality has been shook by a lot of the things that you've realized in parting with her, with actually sitting down, thinking and knowing right from wrong, and realizing that a lot of the things that she manipulated you into thinking that were right, finding out that they were wrong, is a sense of betrayal to where it hurt you because you believed her. So it's like now you have to approach the situation like your world was shattered, you have to shatter hers, just so she can come to a truth like you did. Because for a long time, a lot of people in your family, including your grandmother, God rest her soul, enabled your mother and enabled her behavior. You just realized that the only way you tried the listening to her thing, letting her overtalk you, not getting your thoughts out and your words out, you tried to do that because it's your mother. So you tried to allow that to have a closeness to her. But realizing what you realize, you can't go back. You can't unlearn something that you've learned. And your way of breaking through that barrier was truth. So you feel like if you're completely honest with her, then maybe it'll break a barrier down to where y'all could have a healthier relationship, because some love is just love and some love is tough, but both loves are necessary. So this, it's not you being evil to her. It's like a necessary evil. It's like, this needs to happen. Like because you need to hear me. She hasn't heard you. You felt invisible. You felt that your words don't count. You didn't count. And now you count, and you're not willing to go back to being what you were to appease her. You're not willing to go back to that silent place to make her feel better.
Certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I would like to. I'd like to continue more with this. However,
oh no, you have to get to work and stuff soon anyway.
Certainly,
so
this Lord has his adult duties to attend to.
Yes, he absolutely does. So, any closing words before because I mean, you always know anytime you ever want to come back, the door is always open to you. But I understand if you just want to be done with this as well, or however you choose to do it. But I do want to say this, that he is on Coffee under Smith Sorrow. Smith, Smith is pinned in the chat, and his Cash App is also the Lord. Let's say your Cash App name.
Yeah, the $ Lord, the capital L for Lord and capital S Sorrow.
Absolutely, absolutely. So shout out to Sam for that. And Sam, there are a lot of people in the chat that also said that they have subscribed to your coffee already and tipped you over there. So shout out to those people. Thank you, thank you, thank you, everybody that's going over there subscribing to Sam's Coffee. He will be dropping blogs or written blogs about his life until he gets to the point of him processing and making his own book that he is going to be doing. Shout out to Danielle for the Cash App, Rhonda and Cheryl. Thank y'all so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you to everybody that has sent Sam donations throughout this show. And thank you all for the super stickers and stuff. I'm going to continue to get into the super stickers, but I want Sam to close up before he gets out of here because he has to get to work, y'all. Sam got some adulting to do. So what would you like to say in closing, Sam? And again, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate you being here.
Certainly. Now for some words in closing. I guess I'll give two, synonymous of myself and my own identity as this smith. In the visage of the smith, the oculi of vehemence that I have on myself aren't ones of a curse, rather ones of blessings. These are the treasures that I've reaped for realizing the truth for so long. And now being able to speak it. And let it be known that though this identity is that of SORO, separate from the identities of any living person, do note that it has the first letter of my name on it. And the letters that follow suit, the first O in Odom, followed by the second letter in Wright, which is the R, and then the following O in Odom. Fittingly enough, that which I've come to realize now as some epiphany, that I've always had both the identities of the Wrights and the Odoms within me, and I'll never discard them. And in the voice of myself as the person, you aren't who your blood dictate you are. Love and relationships are some of the most important things that we have on this world. These are the binds and the bonds that allow us to achieve that which is perceived as indescribable and impossible. These things are very much the relationships that allow us to go on and do things that no one would have thought this person could do or that group of people could do. And the bonds that you have with your family, your God-given family, are the ones that are the most unbreakable. They are much like a dam. By all forms of measures, they are strong ones that you build up because you have a relationship or a tie with them in some form of fashion, whether it be by blood or by the pure relationship between them. And that is a bond that through no other circumstance, through anything that the great adversary can throw upon you, that cannot be broken. However, if left unchecked, the smallest little crack that you can put in on yourself could be the very thing that breaks that unbreakable bond. I have learned this lesson very much in my own life. And it is one that my mother refused. And from the side of the both of us, I think you all can tell which path you'd better walk upon. Thus is the knowledge that I depart upon everyone. That is all.
That is all. Well, again, shout out to you, Sam, and I truly appreciate all of your kind spoken words. I appreciate all of your honesty. This is Sam Jr.'s Cash App on my screen. I appreciate all of your words, all of your honesty. Number one, we appreciate you not being an AI. We appreciate you coming and speaking for yourself so that everyone knows how you feel instead of someone telling us how you feel that does not tell the truth when they speak. So again, you are more than welcome to come back to this platform anytime you want to. I wish you nothing but success with school, with your job, with your coffee that you started, with the book that you are now, you already have a manuscript pretty much for. So I'm really excited to see everything that your story, just everything coming from Sam, hearing from Sam and not bystanders. And, even me, like, I don't want to speak for you. Like, I want to hear from you myself, type of situation. So again, we are all proud of you. Keep being the incredible young man that you are. Okay. And anything you need, just to let us know. Okay, I'm gonna let you get out of here so you can go ahead and get ready and stuff for work. Call me as soon as you. Well, you can call me before you go to work. So yeah, we can chat
Certainly.
before you do. So but yeah, I really appreciate you being here. And audience, y'all say bye to Sam. Sam got to do some grown men and y'all.
Farewell, everyone.
That's fun. You so much love. Shout out to you, Sam, and I'll call you in a bit. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Shout out to Sam. Was this tea or nah? Was this tea or nah? So I can't stand when people say that we lie and we make up stuff and we use AIs and all of that stuff. Girl, please. How Sam felt is how Sam feels. Am I rubbing off on Sam? Is the Uncheckables rubbing off on Sam? Absolutely. Absolutely. We're rubbing off on him, but Sam that's his thought process. Everything that Sam said was Sam. Y'all heard it. This was an organic interview. It was all coming from the dome, okay? A lot of y'all haven't heard Sam speak like that, and meaning like say how he truly feels. I've heard Sam talk like that before. I just left it in the background because it's his words. When he's ready to come forward and talk like that, and pop his ish and all of that, he'll do that. It's not for me to do. But I don't like being called a liar because I don't do content offline. Like, that's crazy. So again, shout out to Sam Jr. His coffee is linked in the chat. It's pinned at the top, and so is his cash if you guys want to knock out for him. Thank you everybody that sent him donations and all the good stuff. Let me get back into y'all super stickers, because we had got a lot of them. Shout out to Gemini Twin. She says, so proud of you, Sam Jr. Continue to tell your story. Don't allow no one to tell your story for you. Absolutely. Shout out to Sandra D for becoming a member. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Shout out to Jaggedy Ann. She says, Sam, we're all so proud of you. Do you have PayPal? I will check, and if Sam does, I believe he does because he has coffee. But you can also go over to his coffee and send him anything that you want to send him to. If you don't have Cash App or anything, you want to support him financially, you can go for the coffee, buy or donate to become a member over there. And whatnot, you can send them a tip if you want. To over there on coffee, they deal with PayPal if you want to support him via PayPal. Shout out to Miss P. She says, what has Cat W and Kendrick done to this world? Absolutely. Shout out to Toronto to Inspire. She says, I'm so proud of you, Lil Sam. You are doing great. I will hit your Cash App. Shout out to Tawana and everybody else that hit Sam's Cash App. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Shout out to K-Ben. Oh, and shout out to Miss P. Thank you again for the super sticker. Shout out to Tawana. Thank you so much, sweetheart, for the super sticker. Shout out to K-Ben. K-Ben says, this was so nice. Thank you so much, sweetheart, for the super sticker. I really appreciate it. Shout out to Tracy. She says, kudos to you, Sam. Many of us can relate. Be blessed. Absolutely. Shout out to Tracy. Shout out to Nessa Girl. Nessa says, epic interview. Love you, Sean and Sam. Thank you so much, Nessa Girl. Thank you. I love you, Nessa. Shout out to my baby Oakcliff. She says, thank you, Sean. God came in today. He absolutely did. Shout out to all the creators that were in the chat. I saw Danny Robinson, Val, Planet Jane, Diffish King Payne. I love you, Diffish King Payne. Y'all get over there and subscribe to Diffish King Payne, and so many others. Shout out to all y'all. Come get this commentary. So many different people in the chat. Shout out to all the content creators that were here. I really appreciate you guys being in attendance. Y'all could be anywhere, but y'all chose to be here with the SeanDavieWay. So I really appreciate that. Shout out to, hold on, I believe there was another, I hate missing y'all Cash Apps and stuff. Shout out to Tammy as well for the Cash App. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate it. I love you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed yourself, that y'all got some clarity and clarification that I felt was needed at this time. Again, shout out to Sam. We really appreciate you coming through. This was amazing. Shout out to Goomba for coming up. We really appreciate that. Yeah. Is there anything else that I need to say before I get out of here? Or anybody else I need to thank? Okay, I love you guys. So I got to get out of here. Until the next show, y'all be good. Yeah, I just love you guys. Yeah, I'm going to get out of here. It was what it was. So, bye. Thank y'all.